Chapter 1401. In that split second, the bandit had a timely discovery of the arrow Duan Lingtian shot. He lowered his head and rolled away pathetically. However, he managed to avoid Duan Lingtian's true energy arrow. A few strands of long hair of his were falling in the air. Master Immortal shedding stage. Seeing how the bandit avoided the arrow, Duan Lingtian was not disappointed. Instead, his eyes lit up. Immediately, he released another arrow. Body and arrow synchronization. Duan Lingtian jumped and shot out with the arrow. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the bandit who was getting up after rolling away embarrassingly. Then, he landed steadily on the ground. At that time, the bandit also discovered Duan Lingtian and his face shifted. Earlier, was it you who hit me below the belt? Master Immortal shedding stage, 7 points. Duan Lingtian's gaze on the bandit was like a hunter looking at his prey. They sparkled brightly like two shiny stars in the night sky. Boy, you dare to ignore me. You're looking for death. Being on the Master Immortal shedding stage, the bandit had more pride than an ordinary person. He was enraged when he saw Duan Lingtian daring to ignore him. Boom, he stomped his feet on the ground until it shook and cracked. Then, he seemed to transformed into a cannonball and launched towards Duan Lingtian. In his hands, a huge saber appeared. The true energy around the huge saber raged while the saber ray flared as if it had transformed into a foot-long giant saber. It fell towards Duan Lingtian as if it wanted to split him in half. Die. As the saber fell, the bandit smirked as if he had already foreseen the scene whereby the purple-clad youth in front of him was split into two halves. In face of the bandit's saber, Duan Lingtian appeared calm. Body and arrow synchronization. With another arrow shooting out, Duan Lingtian stood on it on his feet, were able to avoid the bandit's strike and instantly got near him. Arrow light shower. Within the time needed to raise a hand, Duan Lingtian took another shot. When the bandit finally reacted and changed his expression dramatically, a sky full of arrows rained with an immense force as if there was a meteor shower. Seeing this, the bandit did not dare to hesitate. He rapidly slashed out the saber in his hands while he lifted his arm to block the overwhelming arrow rain. Arrow light strike. While the bandit was resisting the arrow rain and trying to escape, Duan Lingtian made another move. Su. One arrow pierced between the eyebrows of the bandit and killed him. Master Immortal shedding stage martial cultivators apart from those at the peak Master Immortal shedding stage were like clay chicken and ceramic dogs in front of Duan Lingtian, they were simply not worth mentioning. Duan Lingtian, this bandit managed to avoid your shot earlier. At that time, Zhu Lang who caught up commented in surprise. It should be noted that almost all the bandits that they met along the way were killed by Duan Lingtian in one shot. Now, this was the first bandit which managed to avoid Duan Lingtian's arrow. He was a Master Immortal shedding stage martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian responded with a smile. Master Immortal shedding stage. Instantly, both Zhu Lang and Guo Li's eyes lit up. That was the first Master Immortal shedding stage bandit they had ever met. With this one, we probably have 39 points now. Zhu Lang looked delighted. He would have 13 points even if the three of them divided the points equally. 13 points could be converted into 1,300 merit points in the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. We'll continue. Duan Lingtian jumped up again and continued traveling on top of the trees with his left strange pupil in operation. Naturally, the speed of the strange pupil operating was very slow. Otherwise, his spiritual energy would not be able to keep up. It was also because of all that saving, Duan Lingtian had only depleted 1/5 of his spiritual energy with 4/5 more for him to utilize. Wherever the trio passed, it was as if they were harvesting the bandits' lives. Naturally, the one who did all the attacking was Duan Lingtian. I really don't know why Duan Lingtian would want to cooperate with the others. Along the way, the two of them never made a single move. One of the middle-aged men in silver armor, who was hidden in the dark and tailing the trio, could not help but shake his head. Everyone said beautiful women are worth dying for. It's so shocking that Duan Lingtian would make such a choice for a woman. The other man also shook his head. Obviously, he thought that Duan Lingtian would cooperate and help Guo Li because he was hung up on Guo Li's beauty. Yes, if this woman didn't exist, the first place in the Lord City Governor's test today would definitely be his, sighed the former person, thinking that beautiful women were the root of all trouble. From the beginning to the end, they could see that it was not Duan Lingtian and Guo Li who had brought along a burden, but Duan Lingtian himself lugging two burdens on his own. However, his eyesight is amazing. He fired his arrow even before we saw anyone in front of us. Apart from that master Immortal shedding stage bandit, the rest were killed in one shot. Yes, I don't think I could go that far either. His eyes aren't like human eyes. How can human eyes possibly see that far? The two persons, who were hidden in the dark to record the trio's results and protect them, were discussing through true energy voice transmission. From the start, they noticed that Duan Lingtian's eyesight was far superior to an ordinary person's. Perhaps, they were stronger than Duan Lingtian, but they believed that their eyesight was far inferior to his. While Duan Lingtian was clearing his path, there were several rapid-moving figures in the other directions which were headed towards the depth of the valley at a speed no less than Duan Lingtian's. Shanghu, who ranked number 2 among the 13 gangsters, was leading with Jin Yuanbao, who ranked number 3 closely behind him. After that, there was Sun Jie, who ranked number 4, and Zheng Jian, who ranked number 5. Along the way, they met a handful of master Immortal shedding stage bandits and a lot of early and intermediate mortal shedding stage bandits from whom they earned quite a lot of points. However, although Sun Jie and Zheng Jian had each killed a master Immortal shedding stage bandit, they were also severely injured. People from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. There's nothing that special about them. A bang exploded along with a disgusted sneer while a figure flew away and smashed to the ground. He was disheveled and kept vomiting blood. Looking at the master Immortal shedding stage bandit whose killing intent was apparent on his face walking towards him, Zhang Jilong's face turned extremely gloomy. Duan Lingtian, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I would have at least evenly matched him even if I couldn't defeat him. In face of the bandit who wanted to kill him, Zhang Jilong gnashed his teeth, but the target of his hatred was not the bandit before him. Instead, it was Duan Lingtian. In his opinion, he would not end up in this current predicament if it were not for Duan Lingtian, who had severely injured him the day before yesterday, which led to him partaking in the test with an injured body. Just as the bandit was about to kill Zhang Jilong, a silver figure appeared. 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. When the bandit saw the youth in silver armor before him, his face changed dramatically and he hurriedly turned around to escape. Currently, there was only one thought in his mind. Run as far as he could. However, could he escape? The youth in silver armor disappeared on the spot. By the time he reappeared, he was already blocking the bandit's escape route and the bandit was killed before he had time to even beg for mercy. The whole process was as smooth as passing clouds and flowing water. After killing the bandit, the youth in silver armor coolly glanced at Zhang Jilong and declared, "You're eliminated." Zhang Jilong stood up with a sullen expression as he turned around and walked along the way he came. He knew that he was not fated with the city governor of Mount Hill City to be his disciple. 12 points, Zhang Jilong became moodier and moodier when he thought of the points he had obtained. While Zhang Jilong was eliminated, Hu Lin was also severely injured by a master Immortal shedding stage bandit someplace else. Fortunately, the guardian who was guarding him made a move and managed to save him. However, he was also eliminated after that. When Zhang Jilong and Hu Lin walked out of the valley, they discovered 4 others who had been eliminated before them. The 4 of them ranked the bottom 4 among the 13 gangsters. However, the 4 of them were merely intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivators. After discovering that, both their faces became a little bit sadder. Damn it, Duan Lingtian still hasn't come out. Both of them were in a foul mood when they saw that Duan Lingtian had not been eliminated. Even though they really wished that he would die in the valley, they knew that it was impossible because of the protection of the 36 guardians. Now, they only hoped that he would be eliminated earlier. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. When the trio almost reached the end of the valley, 4 others had also reached consecutively and they saw one another. Duan Lingtian, Guo Li. 4 pairs of eyes landed on Duan Lingtian and Guo Li in unison. Zhu Lang, who was by their side, was totally ignored. Duan Lingtian, I didn't expect you to be so lucky that you managed to reach this far. I thought you'd be eliminated halfway through, Zheng Jian mocked with a fake smile. I've always been lucky. That's nothing extraordinary. Duan Lingtian coolly glanced at Zheng Jian. You, though, surprised me by coming this far. HMPH. Zheng Jian scoffed and looked towards Guo Li, who was beside Duan Lingtian. Sister Guo, you should have cooperated with me. By cooperating with Duan Lingtian along the way, you didn't score many points, did you? As Zheng Jian spoke, he looked at Duan Lingtian with a smirk. Duan Lingtian was silent even after hearing Zheng Jian's words. However, Zhu Lang, who was beside Duan Lingtian and Guo Li, almost laughed out loud. Did not score many points by cooperating with Duan Lingtian. Ha 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 ha. Just as Guo Li's face sank and wanted to say something, a burst of mad laughter burst from the depths of the valley, getting closer and closer to them. Not long after, a figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian and the rest. It was a middle-aged man dressed in a grey robe with several scars on his face which looked hideous. Since you've made it here, it must mean that all of you are pretty strong. It's a pity that all of you have to die here today. The person glanced back and forth between Duan Lingtian and the rest indiscreetly. Perfection mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian was stunned. After using the divine eye, he immediately identified the cultivation base of that hideous middle-aged man in grey in front of him. His opponent was a perfection mortal shedding stage powerhouse. He's the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. While looking at the middle-aged man in grey, Duan Lingtian's eyes were laced with wariness. Do you have the strength to even want all of us to die here? Zhang Jian sneered. At that moment, Zhang Jian's attention was fixated on the grey-clad man. He totally did not notice that Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao's faces had become serious, as if they knew they faced a powerful enemy. Even Sun Ji's eagerness fizzled out after looking at both their expressions. I'll let you see my strength now. With a vicious smile, the man in grey disappeared from his spot like a gust of wind without any movement. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Zhang Jian. Lightning fast, his speed was so quick that everyone gaped incredulously. A little whirlpool appeared in Duan Lingtian's left pupil after he utilized the strange pupil. He felt that he had depleted less than half of his spiritual energy to capture the moving figure of the middle-aged man in grey. The amount of spiritual energy he consumed at that moment was almost comparable to the amount of spiritual energy he had consumed throughout the journey. Is that the speed of a perfection mortal shedding stage? Duan Lingtian's heart trembled. In addition to opening up more saint veins and having a ridiculously large qi, the amount of true energy contained by a person on the perfection mortal shedding stage was not comparable to someone on the mastery mortal shedding stage, let alone someone on the intermediate mortal shedding stage. The true energy in the body of a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator which was exerted could reach an extremely terrifying stage regardless of its strength or speed. Duan Lingtian had discovered that during the battle between Ling Yun and Su Qi yesterday. I'm afraid that the strength of this perfection mortal shedding stage bandit would be above Ling Yun's. Duan Lingtian came up with a shocking conclusion after comparing the bandit and Ling Yun, who ranked number 1 among the 13 gangsters. Maybe it was difficult for his old self to differentiate that, but now, he had the strange pupil, so he could easily discover that after utilizing it. Shua. Zhang Jian's face changed dramatically. He never expected that the middle-aged man in grey would arrive in front of him the minute after he finished his sentence. Then, he also looked terrified as he guessed his opponent's cultivation base. Perfection mortal shedding stage. Instantly, the true energy on his feet surged as he planned to escape by exerting a movement technique. However, he noticed his opponent's hand hurtling towards him like a cattail leaf fan when he moved. It was so fast that he could not avoid it. At that moment, Zhang Jian looked desperate. Bang! A loud blast sounded along with vast airwaves which made everyone's robes flutter. In the next moment, everyone saw it. A silver figure appeared in front of Zhang Jian. It was a middle-aged man in silver armor who blocked the palm attack from the grey-clad man. The 36 guardians who were behind Zhang Jian had finally appeared at that crucial moment and saved his life. The grey-clad man trembled and looked at the silver-armored man gloomily. The 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. Didn't your city governor's estate ask us to attack those that enter the valley? Why did you intervene? You attacking them is your business. Protecting them is mine. Master City Governor said that if you can eliminate all of them, then you'll be allowed to live. After coolly glancing at the grey-clad man, the silver-armored man looked towards Zhang Jian and announced, "You're eliminated." Zhang Jian's expression was clouded, but he could not do anything else apart from turning around to leave with the middle-aged man in silver. As he was leaving, he did not forget to turn his head around and glare at Duan Lingtian fiercely. Treating me as a litmus test. At that time, the grey-clad man finally came to his senses. The city governor's estate of Mount Hill City had treated him as a litmus test. You guys are from the latent dragon camp of the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, aren't you? After he regained his senses, he glanced at Duan Lingtian and the others to ask in a deep voice. HMPH. I could guess that without an answer from you lot. After snorting, he continued saying, although I won't be able to kill all of you, none of you should hope to pass through this level. I will eliminate all of you. As he spoke, strong self-confidence exuded from his eyes. Having heard what the gray-clad man said, Jin Yuanbao instantly changed his stance dramatically as he yelled out loudly, everyone, we must join hands now. Currently, regardless of Jin Yuanbao, Shanghu, or Sun Jie, all of them had confirmed that the cultivation base of their threat was on the perfection mortal shedding stage. Facing a perfection mortal shedding stage powerhouse, none of them would be able to match him. They would only stand a chance if they joined hands. Join hands. The man in gray could not help but smirk when he heard Jin Yuanbao's words. Then, he disappeared before Shanghu, Jin Yuanbao, Sun Jie, Guo Li, and Zhu Lang. Duan Lingtian utilized his strange pupil which enabled him to barely capture the gray-clad man's figure. In the blink of an eye, the man arrived in front of Jin Yuanbao and used his palm. Boom! The true energy on the Saint weapon glove surged and transformed into a solid palm print which was about to land on Jin Yuanbao. Bang! Another middle-aged man in silver appeared and blocked the palm attack from the man. It was one of the 36 guardians. The silver-clad man looked towards Jin Yuanbao and announced coolly, eliminated. Jin Yuanbao looked feeble and there was a bitter smile on his face. His opponent was so fast that he could not have reacted at all. Although he knew that the perfection mortal shedding stage powerhouse was strong, he did not expect him to be that powerful. He arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. Eliminated, eliminated, comma. After Jin Yuanbao was eliminated, several other neutral voices sounded as well. Zhu Lang, Guo Li, Sun Jie, and Shanghu were eliminated consecutively. Among the four of them, only Shanghu managed to resist until a second motion was made. Before Shanghu left, he was the last one to say, that's fast. He looked with a dignified expression towards the afterimage which moved along with an arrow that shot out. Duan Lingtian's speed is faster than mine. The afterimage which moved along with the arrow was Duan Lingtian. Guo Li and Zhu Lang had left. None of them were worried about Duan Lingtian's safety with the 36 guardians there. Naturally, they did not think that Duan Lingtian would be able to defeat the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. It seems that no one will be able to earn these 20 points. On a big tree beside them, a middle-aged man in silver stood and was shaking his head gently. 20 points were what one would obtain by killing a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. Currently, Duan Lingtian was the only one left among the latent Dragon Camp's 13 gangsters. Even though he was quite strong and managed to defeat ordinary mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivators, that did not mean that he could compete with a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. His speed is even faster than Shanghu, who ranks number 2 among the 13 gangsters. It's no wonder that Duan Lingtian could last till now. However, his speed is nothing special before this mastery mortal shedding stage bandit. The silver-clad man who was one of the 36 guardians continued shaking his head. He was on guard, ready to save Duan Lingtian at any time. From Duan Lingtian's current speed, he could see that Duan Lingtian's strength was, at most, on the peak mastery mortal shedding stage, which was far from comparable to a perfection mortal shedding stage. Purple boy, you're the only one left. I'll regain my freedom as long as you're eliminated. The perfection mortal shedding stage bandit in gray looked towards Duan Lingtian, who was moving along with the arrow. His eyes were gleaming while his face was moody but laced with a tinge of excitement. Are you confident that you'll be able to regain your freedom? Finally, Duan Lingtian stopped his body and stood a distance away from the gray-clad man and confronted him from afar. I'll admit that you're faster than that built boy, however, your strength would, at most, be at the peak mastery mortal shedding stage while I'm already almost at the peak perfection mortal shedding stage. You're like an ant in front of me. I can do whatever I want with you, drawled the gray-clad man as he sized Duan Lingtian up. Then, go ahead and try. Duan Lingtian squinted and challenged faintly. Now, he did not plan to continue exerting his movement technique because he knew that he still would not be able to catch up with the speed of the gray-clad man even after exerting it. After all, his opponent was a perfection mortal shedding stage being. He had exerted the movement technique earlier because he did not want the man to aim for him too soon. He was dragging time and let the man eliminate the others first. Now that the others were eliminated, there was no need for him to continue exerting his movement technique. Where did Duan Lingtian get such self-confidence? The middle-aged man in silver who hid in the dark could not help but frown when he saw the sass in Duan Lingtian's eyes. No matter what happens later, please don't intervene. At that time, a voice commanded in his ears. He could hear that it was Duan Lingtian communicating to him through true energy voice transmission. Duan Lingtian asked him not to intervene. Aren't you afraid of dying? The silver-clad middle-aged man frowned and asked through true energy voice transmission. I won't. Duan Lingtian sent a reply through true energy voice transmission again, his tone filled with confidence, powerful self-confidence. HMPH. At the same time, the gray-clad man, who was angered by Duan Lingtian's provocation, finally could not suppress it anymore and shot out like a bolt of lightning after a snort. He was so fast that there was a short-lived sharp whistle in the air. He headed straight for Duan Lingtian. Faced with the gray-clad man who was charging towards him at great momentum, Duan Lingtian's right eye could not capture the slightest twitch, but his opponent's figure appeared clearly in his left eye. In the blink of an eye, his left eye saw the man arrive in front of him. Boom! In that instance when the man arrived in front of him, the true energy raging around the palm that he had long prepared suddenly pressed against Duan Lingtian like the 5 Fingers Mountain. Seeing the gray-clad middle-aged man's palm was only millimeters away from Duan Lingtian, the face of the man in silver who was hiding in the dark sank. He had already missed the best opportunity to intervene. Duan Lingtian, you only have yourself to blame if you're killed, he secretly thought. Chapter 1402. The gray-clad man's palm seemed to have transformed into a 5 Fingers Mountain to suppress Duan Lingtian. The strength of a perfection mortal shedding stage being was completely revealed. In order to regain his freedom, he had no reservations. Seeing that the palm was about to fall on his body, the little whirlpool in Duan Lingtian's left pupil rapidly spun. It was getting faster and faster. In an instant, the remaining spiritual energy Duan Lingtian had was also exhausted by that little whirlpool. Strange pupil. Spatial manipulation. In that split second, the gray-clad man's palm which was almost on Duan Lingtian swayed away strangely and grazed past Duan Lingtian's body. Vast energy stirred the air and set off a series of thunderous air explosions. How's that possible? Simultaneously, the gray-clad man's expression changed dramatically. However, at that second, he was dragged away by his full-forced attack and was completely exposed in front of Duan Lingtian. In a split second, the true energy within Duan Lingtian's chi surged out unreservedly and instantly gathered on his right hand through the 32 saint veins. At the same time, he fully drew the sun-shooting bow and then released the bowstring. Chang, Wang, a solid true energy light blade flew out and slid across the gray-clad man's throat and severed his head from his body before he even had time to recall his true energy and utilize a defensive move. Thump! The man's head fell to the ground while blood sprayed from his body and splattered on the ground. Duan Lingtian followed the momentum and shifted aside whilst the gray-clad man's body was thrown forward by the inertia of his palm attack. A perfection mortal shedding stage bandit was slaughtered just like that. Silence. The scene was dead silent. One might even hear the sound of a needle being thrown to the ground. The hidden man in silver, one of the 36 guardians, stared at the scene before him woodenly. He took a while to recover from the shock. When Duan Lingtian had asked him not to intervene, he thought that he was being arrogant. When he saw him almost being killed, especially when he did not react in time because of Duan Lingtian's previous words, he thought that he would be killed by the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. Who would have thought that the bandit would suddenly turn his palm and hit Duan Lingtian's side as if he had been possessed at the very last minute? At that moment, he also did not notice how did the bandit's palm change its direction. In his line of sight, the bandit's hand seemed to disappear into thin air and materialize beside Duan Lingtian simultaneously, seemingly avoiding his target. He could not figure out what had gone wrong. After that, he observed Duan Lingtian decisively taking advantage of the split second to kill the bandit when the latter missed his shot and had not gotten the time to defend himself. As a peak perfection mortal shedding stage being, he clearly knew that the turning point of this battle was when the bandit missed his attack. Accordingly, his palm would have been sufficient to kill Duan Lingtian. At that crucial moment, Duan Lingtian strangely avoided it. Duan Lingtian only killed him because of that fluke. Unless, Duan Lingtian knew that that would happen. His heart skipped a beat when he thought of Duan Lingtian's voice transmission which asked him not to intervene. An unbelievable thought rose in his head. Unless that was his plan all along. He did not dare to continue that trail of thoughts. If it really was Duan Lingtian's plan, how terrifying was he? In that instant, there was greed in the depths of the silver-clad man's eyes. If it really was Duan Lingtian's move, Does it mean that I'd be able to fight a paramount mortal shedding stage powerhouse with my cultivation base of perfection mortal shedding stage if I obtain such powers? Thinking of that, he became very excited. At that time, I, the Heavenly Dark Guardian, wouldn't be weaker than most of those who rank the top 10. The Heavenly Dark Guardian ranked number 18 amongst the 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. His cultivation base was at the peak perfection mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian, whose spiritual energy was almost exhausted, seemed pale. At the same time, he was more alert about his surroundings. He sensed a burning gaze on him. Currently, he had completely depleted his spiritual energy and it had affected his strength to a certain extent. He might not even match an ordinary mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivator now. Is that one of the 36 guardians? Duan Lingtian started to be on guard. After the Heavenly Dark Guardian appeared, Duan Lingtian became even warier when he saw the subtle glint of greed in the depths of his opponent's eyes. Greed, what does he want? Unless, does he have an inkling of what went wrong earlier? Is he conspiring against me? Duan Lingtian's heart sank when he thought of that. As the Heavenly Dark Guardian advanced quietly, Duan Lingtian took a few steps backward. At that moment, a soft noise sounded from the sky which caused the Heavenly Dark Guardian to slightly falter. It also stopped Duan Lingtian from walking. After looking upwards, Duan Lingtian saw the Heavenly Leader Guardian who was standing in the air and he instantly sighed a breath of relief. Heavenly Leader Guardian. He knew that since the leader of the 36 guardians, the Heavenly Leader Guardian was here, the silver-clad man in front of him certainly would not dare to act as he had before. However, Duan Lingtian knew that the Heavenly Leader Guardian only temporarily solved his crisis. It was not so easily suppressed when the other party had greed on his mind. Eldest brother, the Heavenly Dark Guardian respectfully bowed to the Heavenly Leader Guardian. Heavenly Dark Guardian. The Heavenly Leader Guardian stepped downward and instantly landed by the side of Duan Lingtian and the Heavenly Dark Guardian. He looked towards the Heavenly Dark Guardian and asked with a frown, "Did you kill this perfection mortal shedding stage bandit?" No. The Heavenly Dark Guardian shook his head and then looked towards Duan Lingtian and admitted, he killed him. The Heavenly Dark Guardian. Duan Lingtian learned about the middle-aged man in silver's name when the Heavenly Leader Guardian appeared and greeted him. Heavenly Dark Guardian, they were named after the 36 heavenly stars. The Heavenly Dark Guardian seems to be ranked the 18th, Duan Lingtian thought secretly. Duan Lingtian. At the same time, through the heads up from the Heavenly Dark Guardian, the Heavenly Leader Guardian looked towards Duan Lingtian with a surprised expression. You killed this perfection mortal shedding stage bandit? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Noticing the Heavenly Leader Guardian's surprise, Duan Lingtian added, he had been battling with the others and used up a lot of his strength. I managed to kill him by sheer luck. Sheer luck. After listening to Duan Lingtian, the Heavenly Leader Guardian did not seem to believe him as he stared intently at Duan Lingtian. Moments later, the Heavenly Leader Guardian said, the test has ended. You may leave now. Ended. So quickly. Duan Lingtian was stunned. There was only one perfection mortal shedding stage bandit hidden at the end of the valley. The rest of the bandits were all killed. The Heavenly Leader Guardian said, hence, there aren't any more bandits in the valley. There's no reason for you to stay here. Duan Lingtian understood now. When he left with the Heavenly Leader Guardian, he clearly felt the burning gaze of the Heavenly Dark Guardian, who was following behind them, landing on him from time to time. I think I should refrain from utilizing the strange pupil in front of the others if I can. Otherwise, it'll cause me trouble sooner or later. Duan Lingtian's heart sank as he secretly vowed to himself. He guessed that it was the last palm attack from the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit which was shifted that revealed the oddities and led to the Heavenly Dark Guardian's discovery. The Heavenly Dark Guardian must have thought that he was using a special move and lusted for it. From now on, I've to be careful in the city governor's estate. The Heavenly Dark Guardian didn't get the opportunity to attack me today, but he'll surely find a chance in the future. It was not hard for Duan Lingtian to guess that. Maybe the Heavenly Dark Guardian would not kill him at first, but he would surely ask him to hand over the spatial manipulation move. Even though he knew that the spatial manipulation was an ability from the strange pupil which was inimitable, the Heavenly Dark Guardian did not know that. At that point, I'm afraid I'd have to worry for my life if I can't hand it over, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Under the guidance of the Heavenly Leader Guardian, Duan Lingtian left the valley and rejoined the world outside the valley. Where's everyone? When Duan Lingtian rejoined the outside world, he realized that there was no one around. Everyone including the other 36 guardians had left. The Master City Governor has brought them back to Mount Hill City, the Heavenly Leader Guardian said as if he saw through Duan Lingtian's doubts. Now, you'll follow me back to Mount Hill City. I'll report the results of this test to the Master City Governor then. After he called out to Duan Lingtian, the Heavenly Leader Guardian took the lead and stepped into the air as he headed back. Duan Lingtian followed him closely. Behind Duan Lingtian, the Heavenly Dark Guardian could control the air and he flew with them as well. Obviously, he was prepared to head back to the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City along with the Heavenly Leader Guardian and Duan Lingtian. At the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, in the meeting chamber. Master City Governor. Suddenly, a loud but respectful voice rang from outside and caught the attention of everyone who was in the meeting chamber. The city governor of Mount Hill City was seated on top of the meeting chamber in an imposing manner. Beneath him, there were 11 young men and 1 young woman standing. It was the 11 of the 13 gangsters who had just come back recently and an ordinary latent dragon camp member, Zhu Lang. Come in, the city governor of Mount Hill City commanded faintly after hearing the voice from outside. Lord Heavenly Leader Guardian, many people greeted respectfully when they saw the figure who walked into the meeting chamber first. Soon after that, they noticed a purple figure which was closely following behind the Heavenly Leader Guardian. It was Duan Lingtian who ranked number 6 among the latent dragon camp's 13 gangsters. Duan Lingtian. Smiles appeared on Guo Li and Zhu Lang's faces when they saw him. Naturally, some people were delighted about Duan Lingtian's appearance while some were upset. For instance, Zhang Jian, Hu Lin, and Zhang Jilong were pissed off when they saw Duan Lingtian since all 3 of them bore an indissoluble hatred against him. Master City Governor, the final results and placing of today's test are out. The Heavenly Leader Guardian walked into the meeting chamber and reported the results to the city governor. Announce it. In this rare instance, the city governor of Mount Hill City's eyes lit up. Chapter 1403. The person who ranks number 1 in the test today is Shanghu with 36 points while number 2 is Jin Yuanbao with 32 points, the Heavenly Leader Guardian announced loudly in the assembly hall. As soon as the Heavenly Leader Guardian was done speaking, everyone had their eyes trained on both Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao one after another. They live up to their name of being number 2 and number 3 in the 13 gangsters when they scored first and second in the test today, many of them exclaimed. The both of them will surely be Master City Governor's disciples. Envy rippled around the room. Naturally, some of them were bitter and felt helpless. Shanghu smiled joyfully. Although Jin Yuanbao did not show his pleasure as obviously as Shanghu did, a curve appeared at the edge of his lips. It showed how happy he was at the moment. From today onwards, Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao will be my disciples, declared the city governor of Mount Hill City. However, he took a glance at Duan Lingtian with disappointment in his eyes. Since the city governor of Mount Hill City had said since the beginning that he would only take the people who ranked first and second today as his disciples, the Heavenly Leader Guardian did not announce the ranking and results of the rest. As the city governor of Mount Hill City spoke, people were looking at Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao with envy and jealousy. For the rest, I'll send your point records to the Merit Pavilion. All of you can retrieve the merit points from the points that you've obtained today in 3 days, the Heavenly Leader Guardian said while looking at Duan Lingtian and the rest. At that moment, everyone was exhilarated. 1 point would mean 100 merit points. I have 8 points, so I'll be able to trade in 800 merit points. Hee. One of the intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivators among the 13 gangsters snickered. I've slightly more points than you do. I'll be able to trade in 900 merit points. Another intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator tittered too. Heavenly Leader Guardian, Shanghu, and Jin Yuanbao will stay. The rest may return to the latent dragon camp, informed the city governor of Mount Hill City calmly as his voice spread throughout the entire assembly hall. Just when the people sighed while shaking their heads and were ready to leave, a person took a step forward and said to the Mount Hill City's city governor, Master City Governor, Duan Lingtian was the one who obtained all of the points that our team of 3 achieved. Please give all of the points our team has achieved to Duan Lingtian. It was Guo Li who spoke to the city governor of Mount Hill City while bowing. To her, if Duan Lingtian had not shared the points he obtained from killing the bandits with her and Zhu Lang, Shanghu would not rank the first in the test today. Guo Li. Duan Lingtian frowned, not expecting her to speak up for him. That's right, Master City Governor, Duan Lingtian was the one who obtained all of the points. I'm guilty of taking it. Zhu Lang stepped forward while clenching his teeth. Although he desired the merit points, he felt guilty seeing Duan Lingtian being disqualified. To him, Duan Lingtian was the one who deserved to be the city governor of Mount Hill City's disciple in today's test. HMPH. Master City Governor has set the rules since the beginning. Do all of you think we're playing a game here? Do you think Master City Governor would believe that Duan Lingtian was the one who obtained all of the points? Zhang Jian mocked. The city governor of Mount Hill City who sat in front said nothing. Maybe he did not hear what Guo Li and Zhu Lang said, or maybe he did not want to be bothered with them at all. Let's go. Duan Lingtian frowned and took the lead to leave the assembly hall after calling out to Guo Li and Zhu Lang. He did not expect them to do that. One must know that he had zero interest in being the city governor of Mount Hill City's disciple. Seeing that the city governor of Mount Hill City ignored them, Guo Li and Zhu Lang looked at each other and forced a smile. Subsequently, they left with Duan Lingtian as that was the only thing they could do. However, they were filled with regrets. They regretted participating in the test with Duan Lingtian and being a burden to him. Meanwhile, the rest left the assembly hall one after another. Guo Li thought she could make Duan Lingtian the master city governor's disciple just by saying that. Ridiculous. Hu Lin smirked. It's funny that they wanted to use the points they obtained to help Duan Lingtian to win a spot, Zhang Jilong said disdainfully. Duan Lingtian, I'm sorry for burdening you. Guo Li apologized to Duan Lingtian on the way back to the latent dragon camp. It's me who should apologize. I can't believe we didn't manage to get second place with our points, Duan Lingtian sighed. He had miscalculated something. He did not expect the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit to be the last bandit. He obtained a total of 93 points after they entered the valley and killed the bandits along the way, including the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit. After dividing the points into 3, they obtained 31 points each. On the other hand, Jin Yuan Bao, who ranked number 2 in 13 gangsters, obtained 32 points, which was 1 point more than what they had each obtained. We've only obtained 73 points, so we get 24 points each when it's divided into 3. We're quite a distance away from ranking second place. Zhu Lang forced a smile. Both he and Guo Li had no idea that Duan Lingtian had killed the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit. However, Duan Lingtian did not plan to explain that. Zhu Lang and Guo Li would naturally find out about it when they traded their points for merit points in 3 days. I believe Master City Governor will find out that you obtained 73 points all by yourself sooner or later, Guo Li said. The 2 of the 36 guardians who were protecting us secretly witnessed all of your moves along the way. They knew you were the one who obtained the 73 points all by yourself. If Master City Governor knows about this, he'll definitely make an exception to make you his disciple, Guo Li thought at that moment. She panicked when they were at the assembly hall, which was why she had spoken up to the city governor of Mount Hill City hastily earlier. Just like what Zhang Jian said, city governor of Mount Hill City might not believe what she said. The city governor of Mount Hill City would only believe the 36 guardians. That's right. Zhu Lang nodded, agreeing with what Guo Li said. Duan Lingtian shrugged and looked like he did not care. If he felt sorry, he was not sorry that he did not manage to become the city governor of Mount Hill City's disciple. Instead, he was sorry that he could not return Guo Li the favor. He had made up his mind. If what Guo Li and Zhu Lang said came true, whereby the city governor of Mount Hill City could make an exception to make him his disciple, he would definitely grab the opportunity to return a favor to Guo Li. Not long later, Duan Lingtian and the other 2 of them returned to the latent dragon camp and went back to their cottages respectively. Soon after their return, Zhang Jian, Hu Lin, Zhang Jilong and the rest returned one after another. Did Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao become Master City Governor's disciples? The other latent dragon camp members were not surprised by the results. Meanwhile, in the assembly hall, Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao stood aside respectfully after going through the ceremony of knighting them as the city governor of Mount Hill City's disciples. They did not dare to leave as long as their master did not ask them to. How many points did Duan Lingtian and Guo Li's team obtain? The city governor of Mount Hill City asked the heavenly leader guardian while looking at him. At that moment, Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao were looking at the heavenly leader guardian too. There was curiosity deep in their eyes. To them, Duan Lingtian was undoubtedly a freak. They were eager to know how many points the freak's team had achieved. 93 points, heavenly leader guardian said after his lips twitched a little as the 3 stared at him. 93 points. As soon as the heavenly leader guardian said that, Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao were dumbstruck. They only inhaled sharply in unison after a while, disbelief written on their faces. 93 points. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? The city governor of Mount Hill City asked while frowning. No, the heavenly leader guardian said, they initially obtained 73 points, however, since the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit died in Duan Lingtian's hands, they obtained 93 points eventually. They obtained 31 points each on average. The heavenly leader guardian glanced at Jin Yuanbao as he spoke. He seemed to be telling Jin Yuanbao that he had been so close to losing his second place in the test today. However, Jin Yuanbao did not notice the heavenly leader guardian's glance because he was in shock. The perfection mortal shedding stage bandit died in Duan Lingtian's hands. At that very moment, no matter Jin Yuanbao or Shanghu, the heavenly leader guardian's words echoed in their heads. They did not snap back to their senses for a long time. So, does that mean that what Guo Li said earlier was true? The city governor of Mount Hill City asked again. At that moment, Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao, who suppressed their stirred emotions, temporarily glanced at the heavenly leader guardian once again. They remembered that Guo Li had said earlier that it was Duan Lingtian alone who had obtained all of the points the team achieved. It was nothing since they did not know the points the trio had achieved earlier. Now that they knew, their hearts jolted. Duan Lingtian obtained 93 points all by himself. They could only feel their hearts pumping faster as ever, as if it would jump off their chests any second now. It's true. The heavenly leader guardian nodded to confirm the fact. He was shocked to find out about that in the beginning. However, he became numb when he found out that Duan Lingtian had killed a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. Duan Lingtian could not be predicted by logic. That was how they perceived him. He obtained 93 points all by himself and killed a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit when his cultivation bases on the intermediate mortal shedding stage. The city governor of Mount Hill City mumbled softly while his eyes were filled with burning desire. Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao looked at each other. They saw the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. Eventually, both of them had a bitter smile on their lips. Soon, the city governor of Mount Hill City said to Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao while looking at them, "The both of you may return, get Duan Lingtian to come to the assembly hall. Tell him I'm waiting for him." Yes, they replied respectfully and subsequently left the assembly hall. They hurried their way back to the latent dragon camp. Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao, who had become the limelight among most of the latent dragon camp members, said to Duan Lingtian when they returned to the camp, "Duan Lingtian, master's asking you to see him at the assembly hall." They spoke to him through true energy voice transmission in cottage number 6 that he was staying in. Chapter 1404. There were voices coming from outside just when Duan Lingtian was ready to enter the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda. He could tell the voices belonged to Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao. The master they mentioned was undoubtedly the city governor of Mount Hill City. So soon, Duan Lingtian was a little surprised. He knew why the city governor of Mount Hill City was looking for him without even having to guess. Just like what Guo Li said, the city governor of Mount Hill City would make an exception for Duan Lingtian to become his disciple as soon as he found out about the results he obtained in the valley. After all, he outperformed Shanghu. Apart from that, there was something that Guo Li did not know, the fact that he had killed the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. Despite being on the intermediate mortal shedding stage, he had killed a perfection mortal shedding stage cultivator. His talent and abilities were valued by the city governor of Mount Hill City like never before. As he walked out of the cottage, Duan Lingtian happened to see Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao returning to their cottages respectively. "Duan Lingtian, you're such a freak." Jin Yuanbao's voice rang in his ears just in time through true energy voice transmission. Although Shanghu did not say anything, the way he looked at Duan Lingtian was gravely serious. Duan Lingtian flew down from the high platform as he was about to leave the latent dragon camp. Just when he was walking out of the entrance of the camp, a spectral silhouette appeared before him and blocked his way. That was fast. Duan Lingtian was shocked to see one of the 36 guardians, the heavenly harm guardian, appear before him. This doesn't look like the speed of a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian activated his divine eye out of curiosity. He found out about the heavenly harm guardian's cultivation base in the blink of an eye. Paramount mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian was surprised. He did not know that heavenly harm guardian had broken through as well. He had used the divine eye to check on the heavenly harm guardian when they first met during his arrival at the latent dragon camp. Back then, the heavenly harm guardian was merely on the perfection mortal shedding stage. It was easy come, easy go for the heavenly harm guardian. He left when Duan Lingtian snapped back to his senses. The bunch of the latent dragon camp members, who were excited to watch what was going to happen, was gravely disappointed. What happened? Wasn't Master Heavenly Harm Guardian just about to stop Duan Lingtian from leaving? Why isn't he stopping him now? Duan Lingtian was the only one who figured that it must have been Shanghu or Jin Yuan Bao who had told the Heavenly Harm Guardian about his reason for leaving the camp. How else would the Heavenly Harm Guardian have dared to stop him from seeing the city governor of Mount Hill City? As he arrived at the assembly hall after leaving the latent dragon camp, Duan Lingtian knew that his speculation was right. Duan Lingtian, I'd like to take you as my disciple. Are you willing to accept my request? The city governor of Mount Hill City squinted as he asked Duan Lingtian directly. Master City Governor, what benefit is there for me if I agree to be your disciple? Hearing the city governor's request, Duan Lingtian asked straightforwardly too. The heavenly leader guardian's expression changed upon hearing Duan Lingtian and shouted, Duan Lingtian, don't you dare abuse what you're given. You must feel grateful that you've collected enough good karma for Master City Governor to take you as his disciple. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so daring. In fact, he was so bold that he was even bargaining with the city governor. Duan Lingtian ignored the heavenly leader guardian and proceeded to look at the city governor of Mount Hill City calmly. He seemed to be waiting for him to respond. The city governor of Mount Hill City was stunned for a second before asking while feeling amused, what kind of benefits do you have in mind? Master City Governor's really outright straightforward. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. I don't want much, I only hope that Master City Governor will accept my one request. Do tell, the city governor of Mount Hill City said. Master City Governor, I hope you could protect Guo Li so that she won't be sacrificed in the clans feud back in Fuyu Town, Duan Lingtian said in all seriousness. Duan Lingtian conveyed his one and only request to the city governor of Mount Hill City. Fuyu Town, the city governor of Mount Hill City frowned. Is Guo Li from Fuyu Town? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Guo Li's from the Guo clan of Fuyu Town. She's also the #1 powerhouse among the younger generation in Fuyu Town. The two other clans who treat her clan as their enemy want her dead. What's your relationship with her that you're willing to do this for her? The city governor of Mount Hill City asked while his eyes mocked him. She's my friend, I'm helping her for nothing more than returning a favor, Duan Lingtian said. Are the both of you just normal friends? The city governor of Mount Hill City proceeded to tease. Really? Duan Lingtian nodded calmly. There was no change of emotion in his heart at all. Whatever he said was the truth. He did not harbor any feelings for Guo Li. Heavenly Leader Guardian, send my orders to Fuyu Town right away. If anything were to happen to Guo Li, my city governor's estate of Mount Hill City will destroy both the clans who go against the Guo clan, dictated the city governor of Mount Hill City while looking at the Heavenly Leader Guardian. Yes, sir. The Heavenly Leader Guardian left the assembly hall right after hearing that. It was clear that he was on his way to send the city governor of Mount Hill City's order out. At that moment, Duan Lingtian and the city governor of Mount Hill City were the only two people left in the huge assembly hall. It's my pleasure being your disciple, teacher. Duan Lingtian bowed to the city governor of Mount Hill City. Teacher. The city governor of Mount Hill City frowned. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to call him teacher. Although teacher and master were similar, there was a vast difference between the two. Compared to being a master, being addressed as a teacher was undoubtedly much more casual. Usually, there was only one master. A person would need to get the approval from their first master if they wanted to make another person their second master. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful. However, it was a different case for a teacher. It was not as strict for a teacher compared to a master. A senior who could teach and lecture would be called a teacher. Do you already have a master? The city governor of Mount Hill City's face relaxed from frowning as he asked a while later. No, Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then, why don't you call me master? Why did you call me teacher instead? The city governor sounded strict and there was disdain in his tone as he spoke. An educator is one who passes on knowledge and solves the confusion of a student. To me, a master's like the light at night guiding me forward while a teacher is someone who helps me as I grow, Duan Lingtian explained honestly. Therefore, to him, even though he became the city governor of Mount Hill City's disciple, the city governor was only his teacher but not his master. Calling the city governor of Mount Hill City was too serious to him. It seems like you're saying I'm not worthy of teaching you, eh? A cold gleam was sparkling in the city governor of Mount Hill City's eyes and his voice became dangerously deeper. If you become the light that guides my way, teacher, then, I'll naturally call you my master. But for now, you're just a teacher to me. Duan Lingtian remained calm as ever facing Mount Hill City's city governor who looked thunderous. HMPH. You may leave now, the city governor of Mount Hill City scoffed angrily. Sure, Duan Lingtian did not say much as he retreated and left the assembly hall. Seeing Duan Lingtian leave and eventually disappear before his eyes, the murkiness on the city governor of Mount Hill City's face was no longer there. It was replaced by an amused smile instead. What an interesting little fella. He killed a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator when his cultivation base is only on the intermediate mortal shedding stage. It seems like this little fella is hiding a big secret, mumbled the city governor of Mount Hill City to himself. Guo Li's matter is finally solved. Duan Lingtian was beaming on the way back to the latent dragon camp. He could finally return the favor he owed Guo Li. Out of debt, out of danger. Duan Lingtian felt as light as a swallow at the moment. I'll drop by the Merit Pavilion 3 days later, Duan Lingtian thought to himself after returning to the latent dragon camp. 3 days later, he would be able to trade the points he had obtained from the test today into merit points. Then, he could use the merit points to exchange something that he wanted from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. He might even find something that he desired. As Duan Lingtian entered the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda to continue his cultivation, an order was sent far away from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. It went all the way to Fuyu Town. Fuyu Town was also called Fuyu Island. It was an island located not far away from Dao Martial Saint Land. Fuyu Town was heaved in chaos today. The chaos spiraled from a messenger sent by the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City to pass on the order from the city governor. The Guo clan's disciple, Guo Li, is a member of the latent dragon camp in the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. If anything were to happen to Guo Li, the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City will destroy both the clans who are against the Guo clan. Those were the exact words coming from the city governor of Mount Hill City. The entire Guo clan was exhilarated when they heard the order. All of their emotions were stirred. The most outstanding disciple of their Guo clan was now protected by the city governor of Mount Hill City. As opposed to the emotional Guo clan members, the other two clans were solemn as if they just had a funeral. The city governor of Mount Hill City's protecting Guo Li. They could not understand why would the city governor do so. Find out why. Send someone to find out about it. We must find out why the city governor of Mount Hill City is protecting Guo Li. At the same time, stop all of the stakeouts in Mount Hill City. We can't do anything to Guo Li any longer. Orders were issued from the two clans while the clan members headed towards Dao Martial Saint Land. At the same time, the people from the Guo clan left Fuyu Island as well. They wanted to know what exactly happened. Guo Li only found out about it 3 days later. Master City Governor has ordered to protect me. Guo Li was shocked to find out about it at the beginning. However, she snapped back to her senses very soon. She knew it had to be related to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, it's you, am I right? Seeing Duan Lingtian stroll out of cottage number 6 slowly, Guo Li could not help but ask for confirmation. Duan Lingtian could not help but feel surprised to see Guo Li staring at him emotionally. He had just gotten out of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. While still in a daze, he had no idea what Guo Li was talking about. He only came to a realization when Guo Li proceeded to speak. Chapter 1405. Duan Lingtian nodded in response to Guo Li's question about the city governor of Mount Hill City's order to protect her. Thank you, Guo Li thanked him sincerely. She felt touched. You're leaving the cottage, are you going to the Merit Pavilion too? Duan Lingtian asked, changing the subject. Guo Li nodded. I've already used up the days to leave the camp once every 3 months, I wonder if I can still leave the camp. Duan Lingtian suddenly remembered this matter. I heard it won't be considered as leaving the camp if you're just trading your points at the Merit Pavilion as long as you register with the overseer first, Guo Li said. Then it shouldn't be a problem. Duan Lingtian smiled and subsequently walked into the pavilion at the side of the high platform with Guo Li. After registering with the Heavenly Harm Guardian, the duo left the latent dragon camp and headed to the Merit Pavilion. The merit pavilion in the city governor's estate was an individual 4-level pavilion. The pavilion had a plain but quaint appearance. When they entered the first level of the pavilion, Duan Lingtian saw a familiar silhouette who had just come out of the pavilion and walking in their direction. Jin Yuan Bao. Senior brother Duan. When Jin Yuan Bao saw Duan Lingtian, a charming smile appeared on his face. Senior brother. Duan Lingtian and Guoli were stunned when they heard the way Jin Yuan Bao addressed him. I'm 2 years younger than you, and I'm not as powerful as you. It only makes sense that I address you as senior brother, Jin Yuan Bao said with a smile. Duan Lingtian finally recalled Jin Yuan Bao, similarly, was also a disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City. Junior brother Jin. Duan Lingtian smiled as well. Senior brother Duan, I've already exchanged for the thing I wanted from here, I'll make a move first. Jin Yuan Bao left the merit pavilion after informing Duan Lingtian and nodding at Guoli. Duan Lingtian, did I hear it correctly? Did Jin Yuan Bao call you senior brother? And he said he's less powerful than you. Guoli was shocked as she looked at Duan Lingtian. Did you fight him? She knew Duan Lingtian had become the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City and had asked the city governor to protect her as a favor. Although she knew Duan Lingtian had become the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City, she did not expect Jin Yuan Bao to address him as senior brother. No, Duan Lingtian shook his head. No. Then, Guoli wanted to ask further, but Duan Lingtian interrupted her, you'll find out soon enough. Guoli was confused, but she did not continue questioning him. 31 points. Is there a mistake? Guoli looked at the staff at the first level counter in Merit Pavilion in shock. No, the staff shook his head. The 3-man team you were in obtained a total of 93 points during the test 3 days ago, you're part of the team so naturally, you obtained 31 points. You can trade your 31 points for 3,100 merit points. Would you like to do that? The staff asked. Wait, Guoli shook her head. She could not make sense of what was happening. I remember the 3 of us obtained a total of 73 points, how come it's 93 points now? Where did the extra 20 points come from? Guoli had an epiphany as she looked at Duan Lingtian who was standing next to her. It was as though she had just seen a ghost. Duan Lingtian, did you kill that perfection mortal shedding stage bandit? Killing a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit would allow them to obtain 20 points. Guoli began to hyperventilate as she spoke. She stared at Duan Lingtian unblinkingly. She did not want to miss the expression on Duan Lingtian's face. She confirmed her speculation when she saw Duan Lingtian nodding. Duan Lingtian, you, Guoli felt speechless and amazed as she forced a smile on her face. She finally understood why Jin Yuan Bao had addressed Duan Lingtian as senior brother. Let's trade for some merit points, Duan Lingtian said with a small smile. Guoli regained her senses when Duan Lingtian spoke and traded her 31 points for 3,100 merit points. It was Duan Lingtian's turn to trade after Guoli was done with her turn. The merit points are in here. Duan Lingtian looked at the crystal card in his hand, surprised. The number, 3,100, floated out whenever he exerted his true energy into the crystal card. That was the number of merit points he had in the card. There's a saint inscription inscribed on the crystal card, Guoli explained to Duan Lingtian. She did not seem surprised. Saint inscription, that means this is the work of a saint inscription master. Duan Lingtian was even more surprised now. Based on what he knew, there was no saint inscription master in Mount Hill City. Guoli smiled as she responded, Duan Lingtian, this crystal card isn't produced from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. It isn't produced from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. What do you mean? Duan Lingtian was stunned. This crystal card comes from the 7th-rate force above Mount Hill City. The merit points come from that 7th-rate force as well, Guoli explained. That 7th-rate force is a powerful sect. Excluding the Mount Hill City, there are another 17 cities in the area that are ruled by the sect. Similar to the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, the city governor's estates of the 17 cities are 8th-rate forces as well, and they also own an 8th-grade Saint Stones reserve. Guoli said, the 18 cities will have to present a large number of 7th-grade Saint Stones and recommend young geniuses to the 7th-rate sect every 3 years. The 7th-rate sect will give out merit points to each city according to the number of 7th-grade Saint Stones they submitted and the quality of young geniuses they recommended. I heard the city governor's estate of each city can use the merit points to borrow human rank primitive saint grade martial tactics or exchange for human rank primitive saint weapons and high grade saint grade pills, Guo Li said in one breath. A 7th-rate sect controls 18 cities, including Mound Hill City. A 7th-rate sect that owns human rank primitive saint grade martial tactics, human rank primitive saint weapons, and high grade saint grade pills. Duan Lingtian was shocked as he processed Guo Li's words. Duan Lingtian, based on your talent, the city governor of Mound Hill City will definitely recommend you to the 7th-rate sect. I'm afraid I, on the other hand, will never have a chance like that, Guo Li said, mocking herself. Getting recommended to the 7th-rate sect. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. He had an eager expression on his face. Since he had arrived at the Dao Martial Saint Land, he had been rising up. The higher he was, the faster he would be able to find his parents. Moreover, if he wanted to return to Earth, Elder Huo had said he needed to level up and stand at the peak of this planet. The city governor's estate of Mound Hill City was just a stepping stone for him. Man struggles upward as water flows downward. This was a theory that would never change. Let's go to the 2nd level and see what we can exchange with our merit points, Duan Lingtian said, changing the subject when he noticed Guo Li seemed to be a little upset. The 1st level of the merit pavilion in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City was where they received their merit points. Meanwhile, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th levels were the place they exchanged for items with their merit points. When they arrived at the 2nd level, Duan Lingtian discovered they could borrow saint grade martial tactics and saint grade Dao tactics here. So many saint tokens, Guo Li exclaimed after she walked around the 2nd level. There were at least 100 saint tokens containing saint-grade martial tactics and saint-grade Dao tactics on the 2nd level of the merit pavilion. Although the Guo clan where Guo Li came from was a 9th-rate force, they only possessed a few saint tokens. Furthermore, those were just saint tokens with human rank prominent saint-grade martial tactics and saint-grade Dao tactics. 90% of these saint tokens contain human rank prominent saint-grade martial tactics and saint-grade Dao tactics, the remaining 10% have human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactics and saint-grade Dao tactics. Duan Lingtian discovered this fact after walking around the 2nd level with Guo Li. An old man patrolled the 2nd level of the merit pavilion. He did not say a word from the beginning until the end. Duan Lingtian was certain the old man was the powerhouse guarding the 2nd level of the merit pavilion. Soon after, Duan Lingtian discovered the old man's cultivation base was at the paramount mortal shedding stage when he activated the divine eye. Apart from the old man, there were young men in silver armor standing at the 4 corners of the 2nd level of the merit pavilion. They looked imperturbable, their eyes were focused and did not wander around. 4 of them are at the perfection mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian figured out their identities when he saw their silver armors. They were members of City Governor's estate of Mound Hill City's 36 Guardians. Senior, how do I borrow saint-grade martial tactics from the merit pavilion's 2nd level with merit points? Guo Li asked when the old man was near her and Duan Lingtian. You'll be able to read a human rank prominent saint-grade martial tactic once with 100 merit points and human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic with 1000 merit points. You're not allowed to bring the saint token out of the merit pavilion, the old man said calmly. 1000 merit points just to read it once. Guo Li exclaimed in shock when she heard his words. One had to read the saint tokens 5 times in order to memorize the saint-grade martial tactic. One would only be able to read the content of the technique's 1st stage of cultivation that was also the fundamental awareness stage on their 1st read. They would have to cultivate the technique to the fundamental awareness stage before they could read the content for the 2nd stage that was also the elementary stage. Therefore, one would need to read it at least 5 times before one could completely master the saint-grade martial tactic. It was only natural that Guo Li was shocked since it would take 5000 merit points to master a human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, was smiling. 1000 merit points to read it once. One must know that he was different from the usual martial cultivators. Ordinary martial cultivators would have to read the saint-grade martial tactic 5 times at least to obtain all the contents in the saint token. However, his extraordinary spiritual energy allowed him to completely memorize the saint-grade martial tactic in the saint token after only reading it once. Chapter 1406. Silver Shirt. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian immediately walked toward the few saint tokens that contained human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactics. His target was a human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic that contained the silver shirt. Silver Shirt was a human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic defensive technique. It was also the upgraded version of the defensive technique, Copper Shirt, that he was cultivating. Lin Qingrong was the one who told him about this. Soon after, Duan Lingtian found the human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic that contained the Silver Shirt. Senior. Duan Lingtian looked at the old man who was nearby as he held the saint token in his hand. Whoosh! The old man disappeared from his spot and reappeared before Duan Lingtian with a crystal card in his hand. Duan Lingtian took out his card as well. When he was on the Merit Pavilion's first level, Duan Lingtian had witnessed the staff transferring 3,100 merit points into his crystal card. Therefore, he mimicked the staff and placed his crystal card on top of the old man's card. However, he had no idea what he should do next. At this moment, Duan Lingtian felt a little embarrassed. Exert your spiritual energy and think of transferring 1,000 merit points to me, the old man reminded Duan Lingtian when he noticed his embarrassment. Hearing that, Duan Lingtian immediately exerted his spiritual energy into the crystal card in his hand and focused his mind on transferring 1,000 merit points from his crystal card to the old man's card. All of a sudden, his crystal card flashed and a streak of light shot into the old man's crystal card. When Duan Lingtian exerted his true energy into the crystal card, he could clearly see that he was only left with 2,100 merit points. That simple. Duan Lingtian was surprised. He did not expect transferring merit points from one crystal card to another was so easy. You can read the saint token you have with you now, the old man said. Duan Lingtian nodded and subsequently exerted his spiritual energy into the saint token in his hand. At this moment, the information in the saint token rushed into Duan Lingtian's head. It was so deeply entrenched in his mind that it would be difficult for him to get rid of it. However, among the sea of information, only the Silver Shirt's information was useful to Duan Lingtian. The others were useless to him. To avoid the old man's suspicion, Duan Lingtian did not put down the saint token immediately when he was finished with it. Ordinary martial cultivators would need at least 15 minutes to memorize all the techniques at the fundamental awareness stage in the saint-grade martial tactic. Guo Li was occupied with picking a saint token that contained a human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic and transferring 1,000 merit points to the old man while Duan Lingtian pretended to be absorbed with the saint token he held in his hand. Subsequently, she began to study the content of the human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic in the saint token. After approximately 15 minutes had passed, Duan Lingtian quietly put the saint token in his hand back to where it was. Guo Li also woke up after a while. She had memorized the technique up to the fundamental awareness stage in the saint-grade martial tactic. She would not able to look at the content after this, so she returned the saint token. After both of them returned the saint tokens, they made their way up to the third level of the Merit Pavilion. They could exchange their merit points for saint weapons at the third level of the Merit Pavilion. To their surprise, 90% of the saint weapons available on the third level of the Merit Pavilion were human rank primitive saint weapons. They all sparkled dazzlingly. Senior, may I ask how many merit points do we need to exchange for a human rank primitive saint weapon? Guo Li asked as she looked at the old man patrolling the third level of the Merit Pavilion. 2,000 merit points, the old man said calmly. 2,000 merit points. Guo Li's eyes widened. So expensive. However, the old man did not respond to her. He had assumed she could not afford the items. Although Guo Li thought it was expensive, she eventually picked a human rank primitive saint weapon in exchange for it with her merit points. Currently, the crystal card in her hands was only left with 100 merit points. Everything's back to square one. Duan Lingtian shook his head as he looked at the number shown on Guo Li's crystal card. Guo Li, who was upset with the number of merit points she had left, regained her senses when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. She asked, Duan Lingtian, what did you say? Everything's back to square one. What does that mean? It was a saying back in Wa, or Earth, where Duan Lingtian was from in his past life. It was only natural Guo Li did not know what it meant. It means starting over again, Duan Lingtian said. Guo Li finally understood him after he explained it. Although she felt pain from losing her merit points, she was smiling when she looked at the human rank primitive saint weapon in her hands. The weapon she was holding was a whip. It was similar to the weapon she had. She decided on this human rank primitive saint weapon because it was practical. Duan Lingtian, you're not exchanging for any weapons. Guo Li could not help but ask when she saw Duan Lingtian did not look at or select any human rank primitive saint weapons. Let's go to the 4th level, Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Duan Lingtian, I saw a bow over there earlier. It's a human rank primitive saint weapon bow, you really don't want to get that? Guo Li asked again to be certain. Duan Lingtian shook his head. What a joke, the sun-shooting bow he possessed was a lot more superior than the human rank primitive saint weapon. It was unnecessary for him to waste his merit points to exchange for an inferior weapon. Since he did not plan to exchange anything, Duan Lingtian took the lead to leave the 3rd level and head straight to the 4th level of the Merit Pavilion. Guo Li followed close behind him. The 2nd level of the Merit Pavilion was where they borrowed Saint Grace martial tactics with their merit points. The 3rd level was where they exchanged for saint weapons with their merit points. Meanwhile, the 4th level was where they exchanged for saint grade pills with their merit points, just like Duan Lingtian had speculated. 1-star saint grade pills. 2-star saint grade pills. Duan Lingtian learned about saint grade pills when he arrived at the 4th level of the Merit Pavilion. He learned that saint grade pills had 9 grades, starting from 1 star and ending at 9 stars. Naturally, 1 star was the lowest, and 9 star was the highest. They could exchange for 1-star saint grade pills and 2-star saint grade pills on the 4th level of the Merit Pavilion. It's really more powerful than royal grade medicinal pills. It was not difficult for him to see that the 1-star saint grade pills' medicinal efficacy was far better than the royal grade medicinal pills when he used his spiritual energy. Naturally, they were not called royal grade medicinal pills at the Dao Martial Saint Land. The same medicinal pills were called innate medicinal pill at the Dao Martial Saint Land. 20 merit points for a 1-star saint grade pill, and 100 merit points for a 2-star saint grade pill, such an astronomical figure. Duan Lingtian thought to himself, his lips slightly twitching. No matter if it were the 1-star saint grade pills or 2-star saint grade pills, they had healing medicinal pills and sensory pills that could elevate one's sensitivity toward heaven and earth spirit energy within a short period of time. The former was for healing while the latter was to assist in one's cultivation. 11 2-star healing medicinal pills and 10 2-star sensory pills, Duan Lingtian said to the other old man patrolling the 4th level of the Merit Pavilion. When he had just arrived on the 4th level, he had used Divine Eye to check on the old man. He discovered he was at the paramount mortal shedding stage similar to the old men on the previous 2 levels. Duan Lingtian picked 2-star saint grade pills that cost 100 merit points each. 21 pills amounted to 2,100 merit points. Duan Lingtian transferred all of the merit points he had left in his crystal card into the old man's card and successfully obtained the saint grade pills he desired. 2-star saint grade pills, that's 2 grades higher than royal grade medicinal pills. I wonder how's the medicinal efficacy like. Duan Lingtian put the 21 medicinal pills away, he could not wait to test them out. The only thing he wanted to do now was to return so he could test the 2-star saint grade pills, medicinal efficacy. Guo Li's lips subtly twitched when she saw him spending so extravagantly. Meanwhile, she had used her remaining 100 merit points to exchange for 5 1-star saint grade pills. She obtained 3 1-star healing medicinal pills and 2 1-star sensory pills. Since they had completed their objectives here, they prepared to leave. They began to make their descent from the 4th level, but they stopped when they were on the stairs of the 3rd level of the Merit Pavilion. This was because they encountered someone they knew. Sister Guo, congratulations, it's a surprise that you gained Master City Governor's protection. The person they bumped into was Zheng Jian, who was ranked number 5 in the 13 gangsters. He congratulated Guo Li with a smile on his face. However, Guo Li ignored him. Her behavior caused the smile on Zheng Jian's face to freeze. As the smile on Zheng Jian's face faded completely, he shifted his eyes from Guo Li to Duan Lingtian. His eyes were filled with killing intent. It seemed like he could not wait to kill Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, was fearless as he locked eyes with Zheng Jian. Duan Lingtian, if you're a man, challenge me when you return to the latent dragon camp and take cottage number 5. Zheng Jian glared coldly at Duan Lingtian. His voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears through true energy voice transmission, provoking him. Judging by Zheng Jian's words, it was obvious he was unaware that the city governor of Mount Hill City had made an exception and accepted Duan Lingtian as his pupil. Zheng Jian did not step out of his cottage since he returned to the latent dragon camp 3 days ago. He only left the latent dragon camp today with the purpose of coming to the Merit Pavilion. During his journey here, he heard about the city governor of Mount Hill City's order to protect Guo Li. However, the news of Duan Lingtian becoming the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City had yet to spread out. This was why he was unaware of it. Otherwise, he definitely would not have the guts to provoke Duan Lingtian. "I'll be waiting for you at the latent dragon camp." Duan Lingtian's expression remained the same, but there was a raging fire in the depth of his eyes that revealed his current emotion. Even the nicest person has his or her limits. This Zhang Jian had been provoking him over and over again. Did Zhang Jian really think he could treat him like a rotten persimmon, that he could do whatever he wanted to? "I hope you remember your words, don't you hide in your cottage when I return." Zhang Jian smiled slyly when he thought of his plan coming to fruition. Chapter 1407. Duan Lingtian stared at Zhang Jian before he left the Merit Pavilion. Meanwhile, Guo Li turned back to look at Zhang Jian's back. There was a hint of sympathy in her eyes. Even Jin Yuan Bao, who was ranked number 3 in the 13 gangsters, addressed Duan Lingtian as senior brother. However, Zhang Jian dared to provoke him. She admired Zhang Jian's courage. Naturally, she did not advise Zhang Jian since she did not like him at all. After leaving the Merit Pavilion, Duan Lingtian and Guo Li returned to the latent dragon camp. However, they were not in a rush to return to their cottage. Instead, they stood in front of the cottages. It seemed like they were waiting for something. Naturally, their actions caught many people's attention. What are Duan Lingtian and Guo Li doing? I've no idea. They should have just returned from the Merit Pavilion. I'm sure they exchanged many items. Shouldn't they be studying the items obtained? The latent dragon camp's members staying in the dilapidated cottage were confused. They only regained their senses when they heard a voice coming from the camp's entrance 15 minutes later. "Duan Lingtian, you kept your promise." Zhang Jian smirked as he walked into the latent dragon camp. Subsequently, he hopped onto the high platform and stood across Duan Lingtian as they locked eyes. Battle intent rose slowly from his body. Intention to fight was rising on his body. However, Duan Lingtian did not intend to respond to him. He only looked at him calmly. Meanwhile, Guo Li stood at the side as she calmly watched both of them staring at each other. I was wondering who Duan Lingtian was waiting for. As it turns out, he was waiting for Zhang Jian. When did both of them get into a conflict? A lot of people were surprised. However, there were more people who were excited. They were waiting to watch a good show. "Duan Lingtian, soon you'll see that your insignificant ability is nothing in my, Zhang Jian, eyes. Don't you dare think that you can look down on everyone at the Master Immortal shedding stage just because you defeated a few fellows who had just broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage." Zhang Jian's face turned completely solemn when he saw Duan Lingtian ignoring him. "I'm not sure about other people at the Master Immortal shedding stage, but you, Zhang Jian, is someone I really look down on," Duan Lingtian finally said. His tone was calm as though he was talking about something trivial. An uproar broke out among the crowd as soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking. Apart from Guo Li, who knew Duan Lingtian was stating the truth, everyone else thought he had gone insane. Has Duan Lingtian gone insane? Zhang Jian has broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage quite a while ago. Hu Lin and Zhang Jilong, who have just broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage, can't compare to him at all. He's making the biggest mistake in his life if he thinks Zhang Jian's as easy to defeat as Hu Lin and Zhang Jilong. I would love to see him embarrass himself. The latent dragon camp's members at the dilapidated cottages discussed among themselves. More than 90% of them bet Duan Lingtian would lose. "Zhu Lang, I know you're quite close with Duan Lingtian, however, he'll definitely have bad luck for picking a fight with my cousin, Zhang Jian. I suggest you return to your cottage so that you won't be upset when he gets hurt," Hu Jia mocked as he arrived at Zhu Lang's dilapidated cottage. "The victory isn't certain yet." Zhu Lang smirked. He knew Duan Lingtian's strength very well. Other factors aside, if he and Guo Li were not a burden to Duan Lingtian in the test the city governor had prepared for them 3 days ago, Duan Lingtian would have definitely ranked number 1. This was why he was so confident. He believed Zhang Jian was no match for Duan Lingtian. "What? Don't tell me you think Duan Lingtian can defeat my cousin Zhang Jian?" Hu Jia smiled mockingly. I'm not sure about other people at the Master Immortal shedding stage, but you, Zhang Jian, is someone I really look down on." On the high platform, Duan Lingtian's words echoed in Zhang Jian's ears. His body was trembling in fury. His eyes turned blood red as his stomach was filled with a raging fire. He was on the edge of snapping. Eventually, he managed to calm down his overwhelming anger. Duan Lingtian, I'll show everyone how someone you look down on is going to toss you into the manure pit. Zhang Jian shouted angrily. He pounced at Duan Lingtian as though he had turned into an agile cheetah. The air seemed to compress in his wake. Some of the spectators held their breaths as they watched the scene before them unblinkingly. However, what happened next made their jaws dropped. Oh, God, what did they just witness? Bang! A loud thud came from the high platform followed by a groan of pain. Subsequently, everyone saw Zhang Jian shot out of the high platform like an arrow leaving its bow from just one blow and a collision. At this moment, Zhang Jian lost control of his body as he arrived above the manure pit. Just as he was about to fall into the manure pit next to the dilapidated cottages, a purple silhouette suddenly appeared next to him. Bang! Another loud explosion sounded in the air. Apart from Guo Li, nobody in the crowd saw what had happened clearly as Zhang Jian fell. As the purple silhouette disappeared, Zhang Jian's body fell into the manure pit as disgusting matter covered him. The latent dragon camp's members stepped back one after another at this moment. What? Everyone was shocked. They were shocked as they looked at the scene before their eyes. They did not regain their sense for a long time. Zhang Jian passed out just like Hu Lin did previously. Many of them were puzzled when they saw Zhang Jian lay unmoving in the manure pit. Meanwhile, some of them looked at the purple silhouette above the high platform in shock. Duan Lingtian so powerful now. Could he have broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage? Could his ability be on par with a Perfection Mortal Shedding stage powerhouse? The news of Duan Lingtian defeating Hu Lin and Zhang Jilong, despite only being at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, had spread to the latent dragon camp. Every latent dragon camp's member knew Duan Lingtian was capable of defeating people at a higher level. When they saw Zhang Jian was thrown out in one blow and passed out from the second blow, they thought Duan Lingtian had broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage and possessed strength on par with a Perfection Mortal Shedding stage powerhouse. After all, Zhang Jian was different from Hu Lin and Zhang Jilong. He had broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage much earlier. There were only 3 people who were not surprised by this in the crowd. They were Guo Li, Zhu Lang, and the Heavenly Harm Guardian who stood at the pavilion at some point. This Duan Lingtian is really merciless. The Heavenly Harm Guardian shook his head. However, Zhang Jian brought this upon himself for offending this terrifying person. Cousin Zhang Jian, Hu Jia exclaimed loudly when he regained his senses. His expression was terrible. He quickly charged forward and carried Zhang Jian out of the manure pit. Pooh! At the moment when Hu Jia laid Zhang Jian down on the ground, he began to regain consciousness and spat out a mouthful of disgusting matter that landed on Hu Jia's face. Blurg! At this moment, Hu Jia vomited out of disgust on Zhang Jian's face. Zhang Jian, who had just regained his consciousness, did not know where to vent his anger when he realized he had fallen into the manure pit. When Hu Jia vomited on his face, he instinctively slapped Hu Jia as his expression changed drastically. Hu Jia was thrown back from his slap. Bang! Hu Jia was thrown quite far back before he landed on the ground. He lost his breath as blood continued to stream down from his mouth, shot out far away and landed hard on the ground. Whoosh! Everyone was still thinking about how Hu Jia was wrongfully slapped. A silhouette appeared next to him suddenly. The person's expression changed drastically after he checked Hu Jia's pulse and breath. Heavenly Harm Guardian, many people's hearts were pumping quickly as they watched the scene unfolding before them. Zhang Jian, you killed Hu Jia, the Heavenly Harm Guardian said coldly as he looked at Zhang Jian solemnly. Hu Jia's dead. Zhang Jian regained his senses, and his expression changed drastically when he heard the Heavenly Harm Guardian's words. This was not because he killed his cousin, Hu Jia. It was because he had violated the Latent Dragon Camp's rules. There was a rule in the Latent Dragon Camp that stated members were not allowed to kill or cripple one another. Failure to comply would result in punishment. Murderers would be given a heavy penalty and expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's estate. Before everyone had time to react, the Heavenly Harm Guardian picked Hu Jia's body up and flew to Zhang Jian. He extended his arm and picked up Zhang Jian like he was an eagle carrying its chick. Zhang Jian, you're guilty of killing Hu Jia, a Latent Dragon Camp's member. You'll be going to the punishment camp. The Heavenly Harm Guardian left with Hu Jia's body and Zhang Jian. The people in the Latent Dragon Camp only regained their senses after a while. Hu Jia is dead. I think Hu Jia is Zhang Jian's distant cousin. This Zhang Jian is really cruel. He actually killed his distant cousin. I supposed he had yet to come to his senses when he did that. Hu Jia's strength is far lacking compared to him. It's only natural that Hu Jia could not withstand his attack. The latent dragon camp's members discussed among themselves. All of them knew Zhang Jian was in trouble now. There's a rule in the latent dragon camp that prohibits members from killing each other. One would be heavily punished if one were to violate the rule. One would also be expelled from the latent dragon camp and the city governor's estate. Do you think Zhang Jian will really be expelled from the latent dragon camp and the city governor's estate? I think so. Maybe not. Zhang Jian's one of the 13 gangsters after all. He's extraordinarily talented and strong. I don't think he'll be expelled from the latent dragon camp and the city governor's estate. What's the point of having rules in the latent dragon camp if Zhang Jian's not expelled? Who will obey the rules in the future? The latent dragon camp's members were divided into two sides as they argued. At this moment, nobody cared about Duan Lingtian. Even Duan Lingtian did not expect that to happen. He deserves this for his wrongdoing, Guo Li said with a scoff. Duan Lingtian's lips twitched subtly when he heard Guo Li's words. Many people said that women like to hold grudges. He discovered that to be true today. Chapter 1408. Zhang Jian was brought away by the Heavenly Harm Guardian to the punishment camp of the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, and he never came back. The situation kept changing in the latent dragon camp. Li Han, the first person Duan Lingtian had defeated among the 13 gangsters when he had just arrived at the latent dragon camp, had successfully broken through to the master Immortal shedding stage. He had intended to look for Duan Lingtian to seek revenge the minute he came out of his closed-door cultivation. However, he completely dispelled that notion once he heard Zhang Jian had been defeated by Duan Lingtian. Nevertheless, he became one of the 13 gangsters again with his strength, and the 13 gangsters' rankings changed again. Apart from the top 4 that remained unchanged, Duan Lingtian had replaced Zhang Jian and moved into cottage number 5. Zhang Jilong moved into cottage number 6 while Guo Li moved into cottage number 7. The owner of cottage number 8 wooden was Hu Lin, and cottage no 9 belonged to Li Han. As for the owner of cottage number 10, it had changed ownership a few times within the month. It was only confirmed after another latent dragon camp's member broke through to the master Immortal shedding stage. At the same time, news of Duan Lingtian becoming the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City began to spread. As it turns out, Duan Lingtian had already become a disciple of Lord City Governor. Since Duan Lingtian has become the disciple of Lord City Governor after Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao, this indicates his strength has surpassed Sun Jiehu's rank number 4 among the 13 gangsters. If Zhang Jian knew Duan Lingtian has become Lord City Governor's disciple, he wouldn't have dared to provoke Duan Lingtian even if he was more courageous. Things change. Perhaps even Zhang Jian did not expect that he would be expelled from the latent dragon camp and evicted from the city governor's estate for killing his distant cousin. I heard that Zhang Jian was only half alive when he was evicted from the city governor's estate. The punishment camp's way of doing things is so vicious. In my opinion, he's lucky to be alive. The area of the dilapidated cottages in the latent dragon camp was as lively as ever. Since Duan Lingtian had defeated Zhang Jian in one move, Hu Lin and Zhang Jilong became much warier of Duan Lingtian. When they heard that Duan Lingtian had become Lord City Governor's disciple, they had completely dispelled the notion of making an enemy out of Duan Lingtian. Especially Hu Lin. Although Duan Lingtian had thrown him into the manure pit once and humiliated him, he did not harbor the slightest intention of avenging himself when faced with the current Duan Lingtian. After Zhang Jian was chased out of the latent dragon camp and the city governor's estate, 1 month passed by quickly. On this day, the person ranked number 1 among the 13 gangsters, Ling Yun, left cottage number 1. Everyone knew what he was going to do. Ling Yun returned an hour later. Although his face remained cold, there was a hint of excitement in the depth of his eyes. Duan Lingtian walked out of the pavilion at the side of the high platform just in time to see the joy in Ling Yun's eyes. He thought to himself, it seems like Ling Yun passed teacher's test. He went to the pavilion to collect saint stones. Now that he was ranked number 5 among the 13 gangsters, he would be able to collect 900 grade 8 saint stones every month. When Duan Lingtian was looking at Ling Yun was also looking at him. He sent him a message through True Energy voice transmission. Duan Lingtian, although you're older than I am and became master's disciple before I did, you'll have to defeat me first if you want me to address you as my senior brother. Duan Lingtian just smiled faintly before he returned to cottage number 5. After returning to the cottage, he retrieved the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda and entered it with just a thought and headed straight to the 2nd level. He continued cultivating after arriving there. A layer of silver luster shrouded his body as though he was wearing a silver coat. My cultivation progress for the upgraded version of the copper shirt, the silver shirt, has been smooth sailing. I'm currently at the competent stage. A satisfied smile appeared on Duan Lingtian's face. A month had passed in the outside world even though 3 months had passed inside the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, and within 3 months, Duan Lingtian had successfully cultivated the silver shirt to the competent stage. The competent stage was the 3rd stage of a saint-grade martial tactic. The silver shirt that was cultivated to the competent stage was as strong as the copper shirt that had already been cultivated to the 5th stage, which is also the impeccable stage. I feel that once I exert the silver shirt, the strength of my physical body will be strengthened as well, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In another month's time, it'll be half a year since I came to the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. Duan Lingtian could not help but feel sentimental when he thought of this. Naturally, the half a year he meant was the time that had passed in the outside world. According to the time in the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, it would be even longer. Right, Duan Lingtian seemed to have recalled something. He withdrew the silver shirt and descended from the 2nd level of the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda to the 1st level. Duan Lingtian looked at Elder Huo who was seated cross-legged and called out, "Elder Huo." "Yes," Elder Huo said as he opened his eyes. "Elder Huo, I'd like to ask, will my growth rings grow according to the flow of time in the outside world or the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda?" This was what Duan Lingtian had thought of earlier. If his growth rings grew according to the flow of time inside the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, he would be 36 years old now. If it grew according to the flow of time in the outside world, he would still be 35 years old. When he first met Lin Qinrong and Guo Li, he had just turned 35. Your growth rings grow according to the flow of time in the outside world. The time outside is the default time. You can think of it this way, the extra time in the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda is equivalent to the time you've stolen. It won't affect your growth rings, Elder Huo said. Stolen, Elder Huo, you mean that my growth rings stay stagnant when I'm in the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda? Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, trying to suppress his emotion. Yes, Elder Huo nodded. Ever since you've arrived at the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, your growth rings have merely grown for half a month. That's the time you spent in the outside world for the past 6 months. I've been in the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City for half a year now. During this time, apart from the 10 days when I went out, I've only gone out for 5 days. Indeed, I only spent half a month in the outside world. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed as he muttered, if that's the case, does this mean my growth rings will be growing very slowly? That's right, Elder Huo nodded. Your growth rings grow according to the flow of time in the outside world. When you're in the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, your growth rings will be stagnant. Based on the fact that you've only spent 15 days in the outside world during the past 6 months, at this rate, it'll take 12 years outside for your growth ring to grow a complete ring and grow a year older, Elder Huo continued saying. Boom, Elder Huo's words struck Duan Lingtian like a bolt of lightning. It took him a while before he regained his senses. Based on the time he spent in the outside world during the past 6 months, his growth ring would take 12 years to grow another ring. That's outrageous. Duan Lingtian muttered woodenly, if we calculate it that way, my growth rings will only grow 5 rings after 60 years have passed in the outside world. At that time, I'll only be 40 years old. The corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched when he thought of that. It should be noted that people below the age of 40 were considered young at the Dao Martial Saint Land. Based on the time he had spent in the outside world during the past 6 months, he would need another 60 years to shed his youth. At this moment, Duan Lingtian deeply felt how extraordinary the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda was. No wonder the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda was a top celestial supreme treasure. It really had the good fortune of the heaven and earth, so much so that it could steal time. In the past 6 months, I've consumed 10 2-star sensory pills to enhance my sense toward the heaven and earth spirit energy to help with my cultivation. The egg-sized chi-si is almost full now. Although I don't have any more 2-star sensory pills, I should still be able to fill my chi-si and break through within a month with the help of the 32 saint veins in my body to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy for cultivation, Duan Lingtian continued muttering to himself. The next step was to break through to the Master Immortal shedding stage. Once he broke through to the Master Immortal shedding stage, his chi would undergo another transformation and increase in size. At that time, the transformed and enlarged chi would be able to accumulate even more true energy. Apart from that, after his chi had transformed and increased in size, he would be able to open up more saint veins. The increment of saint veins would affect the speed of transportation of true energy in his body, and in turn, it would affect his strength as well. With the true energy in my chi now, if I fully unleash my strength with the 32 saint veins, I'm confident I can defeat any martial or Dao cultivators at the mastery mortal shedding stage without utilizing the silver shirt. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Currently, he was merely a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. Once I break through to the perfection mortal shedding stage, even if I've just broken through, I'm still confident in defeating most of the martial and Dao cultivators at the perfection mortal shedding stage with the silver shirt. Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence. After taking a deep breath to calm himself down, Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged in the air and began to cultivate 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, 9 Dragons Form. As he circulated it along his body per the cultivation method, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the air and heaven and earth spirit energy in the saint stones were constantly absorbed into his body. After the heaven and earth spirit energy entered his body, it was transported by the 9 dragons before it transformed into true energy and integrated with his chi after circulating a great chi circuit. The amount of true energy in his chi kept increasing as he kept circulating it. 1 month inside the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda passed quickly. At this time, true energy finally filled the chi deep between Duan Lingtian's brows. It's filled with true energy now, I can finally try to expand my chi. Duan Lingtian's eyes glinted when he opened them. After that, he closed his eyes again and continued cultivating. At the same time, the chi deep between his eyebrows was held up by the continuous influx of true energy, and it continued expanding like a balloon. Chapter 1409. Boom. When the chi expanded like a balloon to its capacity and exploded, Duan Lingtian felt a wave of dizziness. However, joy was apparent on his face when he regained his senses. The chi became so big. Duan Lingtian realized the chi had completely changed. It was outrageous. Previously the chi was merely the size of an egg, but now, it was as big as a basketball court on Earth in his past life. The true energy that expanded the egg-sized chi seemed insignificant now. It only occupied a corner of the basketball court-sized chi. However, Duan Lingtian knew that he had taken another step forward. He had broken through half of the mastery mortal shedding stage. The other half was to open up more saint veins. At the early mortal shedding stage, I managed to open up 15 saint veins. At the intermediate stage, I opened up another 17 saint veins. Now that I've broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage, I should be able to open up at least 18 saint veins. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath when he thought of that. I hope a miracle occurs. The miracle he meant was to open up more than 18 saint veins. Similar to when he opened up more than 16 saint veins when he was at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. Since Duan Lingtian had experienced this twice, the process of opening up saint veins progressed smoothly. However, it still required some time even though everything was smooth sailing. Half a month later, Duan Lingtian, who had been opening up one saint veins after another, finally stopped when he felt that he could longer open up another one. How many saint veins did I open? Duan Lingtian was suddenly reminded of this matter and began to check the number of saint veins he had opened. After counting it, Duan Lingtian began to tremble in excitement. I didn't count wrongly, did I? Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and began to excitedly study the saint veins he had opened after he broke through to the mastery mortal shedding stage. After counting several times, Duan Lingtian was finally certain. He was not mistaken. 20. I actually opened 20 more saint veins. Duan Lingtian could not help but feel excited. He had expected he would be able to open up 19 saint veins at the most, even if a miracle did occur. Who knew he would actually open 20 saint veins? This was beyond his expectation. In addition to the original 32 saint veins I had, my body has a total of 52 saint veins now. It should be noted that ordinary people at the paramount mortal shedding stage that could open up more than 50 saint veins were considered as having a high potential to break through to the saint stage and become a saint stage powerhouse. Duan Lingtian was only at the mastery mortal shedding stage, but he had opened up 52 saint veins. In the future, even if there are no more miracles, I'll still be able to open up at least 21 saint veins when I reach the perfection mortal shedding stage. At the paramount mortal shedding stage, I'll be able to open up 22 saint veins at the very least. When Duan Lingtian thought about that, his emotions that had just calmed down began to stir again. This also means that I'll be able to open 94 saint veins at least, even if there are no more miracles. I still remember, Elder Huo said even Sun Wukong, the great sage and heaven's equal, in the ancient myths and legends from Earth, had only opened up 93 saint veins. I'll be able to open up more saint veins than him. Duan Lingtian gasped in surprise. Although it did not mean that people who could open up more saint veins would definitely defeat those who opened up less, Duan Lingtian still felt good he could win Sun Wukong in that aspect. At this point, Duan Lingtian became more and more excited. It was only natural. Currently, he was merely at the mastery mortal shedding stage, but the number of saint veins in his body was more than a lot of the other martial and Dao cultivators at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Currently, it would only take him a moment to transport the true energy from his qi to the surface of his body. With just a thought, true energy appeared instantly. Silver shirt. With just a thought, the true energy in Duan Lingtian's qi instantly passed through all 52 saint veins in his body as though he was wearing a silver coat. In the next moment, he casually threw out a punch, and true energy shot out like a dragon. It smashed onto the wall in the distance, setting off a series of explosions. Throughout the entire process, the air seemed to compress in the wake of the great dragon. So powerful, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. With my current strength, not many martial and Dao cultivators at the perfection mortal shedding stage are my match, even if I don't utilize strange pupil. I'm not afraid even if I have to battle Su Qi. The disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City, Su Qi's cultivation base was at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage. More than a month ago, he had defeated the person who was ranked number 1 among the latent dragon camp's 13 gangsters, Ling Yun, in just 3 moves. His strength was obvious. After the breakthrough, Duan Lingtian cultivated for another half a month. In addition to stabilizing his cultivation base at the mastery mortal shedding stage, he had also stored more true energy in his basketball court-sized qi. There are 10 more days in the outside world until the day I can collect saint stones. 10 more days in the outside world are equivalent to a month in the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. It's just enough for me to cultivate my martial tactics and moves. In that subsequent month, Duan Lingtian began cultivating the move in the saint grade martial tactic, Colossal Arrow Light Arrow. He mainly cultivated the offensive move, Arrow Light Strike, and the movement technique, Body and Arrow Synchronization. Arrow Light Strike was almost the strongest offensive move Duan Lingtian had in his arsenal right now. On the other hand, the body and arrow synchronization was the foundation to maximizing his speed. Finally broke through. 1 month later, Duan Lingtian stopped cultivating. Joy was apparent on his face. His hard work had paid off. Due to his continuous effort, the offensive move from the Colossal Arrow Light Arrow, the Arrow Light Strike, had finally reached the competent stage. The competent stage was the 3rd stage of a saint-grade martial tactic. The Colossal Arrow Light Arrow is a human-rank primitive saint-grade martial tactic. The strength of the offensive move, the Arrow Light Strike, is far superior compared to the offensive move of a human-rank mediocre or prominent saint-grade martial tactic. Accordingly, the Arrow Light Strike at its 3rd stage, the competent stage, is comparable to the offensive move of a human-rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic at its 5th stage, which is also the impeccable stage. In Mount Hill City, I'm afraid that no one, apart from teacher, would be able to encounter a human-rank primitive saint-grade martial tactic. It's highly likely that even Su Qi didn't cultivate a human-rank primitive saint-grade martial tactic. Duan Lingtian's eyes were gleaming as he thought to himself, I'm confident I can defeat Su Qi unless he breaks through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. The breakthrough of the offensive move in the Colossal Arrow Light Arrow, the Arrow Light Strike, had given Duan Lingtian a tremendous amount of confidence. Unless it's those perfection mortal shedding stage saint beasts or wild beasts with insanely strong physical bodies, there shouldn't be any humans at the perfection mortal shedding stage who are a match for me, Duan Lingtian murmured to himself as his confidence grew. Unfortunately, the body and arrow synchronization did not have any breakthrough, otherwise, my strength will improve to another level, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. The saying, one's eyes are bigger than one's stomach, described Duan Lingtian perfectly at this moment. I'll go collect my saint stones now. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian left the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda and walked out of the cottage, feeling refreshed, as he headed to the pavilion beside the high platform to collect his saint stones. After receiving the saint stones from the heavenly harm guardian, Duan Lingtian thanked him before he turned to leave. This Duan Lingtian seems a little different compared to last month, however, I can't tell what the difference is. The heavenly harm guardian shook his head as he looked at Duan Lingtian's back. Oh, right, I almost forgot. The heavenly harm guardian seemed to have recalled something. His eyes glinted as he sent a true energy voice transmission out of the pavilion into Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian, Lord City Governor has given an order for you to cultivate at his side after you come out of your closed-door cultivation. Currently, Ling Yun, Shanghu, and Jin Yuanbao are cultivating at the Lord City Governor's side, the heavenly harm guardian reminded him. Cultivating beside teacher. Duan Lingtian was stunned. He turned around to look at the heavenly harm guardian in the pavilion as he asked through true energy voice transmission, "You mean, I can go in and out of the latent dragon camp as I wish?" Yes. The heavenly harm guardian nodded. Half a month ago, Lord City Governor passed down an order so that you, Ling Yun, Shanghu, and Jin Yuanbao can enter and leave the latent dragon camp at will to go the city governor's estate. I didn't expect that accepting this teacher will grant me this benefit. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly before he left the latent dragon camp to look for his teacher, the city governor of Mount Hill City. As the city governor of Mount Hill City, he had a large independent mansion with a front yard and a backyard that were as large as a standard-sized football field in the city governor's estate. Duan Lingtian bowed and greeted the city governor of Mount Hill City when he saw him again, "Teacher." The three people standing behind the city governor of Mount Hill City changed their expression slightly when they heard the way Duan Lingtian addressed the city governor of Mount Hill City. It should be noted that all of them addressed the city governor of Mount Hill City as master. Master and teacher generally had the same meaning. However, they could be very different if one were to look into it. Generally, only disciples in name would use the term, teacher. However, as far as they knew, Duan Lingtian's treatment in the city governor's estate was no different from theirs. He did not seem like a disciple in name. When the city governor of Mount Hill City responded with a smile, Duan Lingtian finally noticed the three people standing behind him. They were the top 3 people in the 13 gangsters, Ling Yun, Shanghu, and Jin Yuanbao. "I'm just telling them about martial tactics and moves. You came just in time," the city governor of Mount Hill City said. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded. Following that, Duan Lingtian and the other 3 listened to the city governor of Mount Hill City as he explained the types of saint-grade martial tactics moves. It must be said that as a saint rudiment stage powerhouse, the city governor of Mount Hill City had a unique insight in that regard. Chapter 14:10. After Duan Lingtian listened to the city governor of Mount Hill City's explanation, he gained a new understanding of saint-grade martial tactics moves. It should be noted that the saint-grade martial tactic he learned in the past was through saint tokens. The things he learned was rigid and far less vivid compared to what the city governor of Mount Hill City had described. No wonder so many people still want to find a master even though there are saint tokens in the Dao martial saint land. Finding a master is more than just looking for protection, it's also to enhance their strength, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Duan Lingtian was not in a rush to return to the latent dragon camp. He stayed at the city governor of Mount Hill City's manor instead. There was nothing lacking in the city governor of Mount Hill City's manor. Moreover, it had a better cultivation environment compared to the latent dragon camp. According to Jin Yuanbao's words, he did not want to return to the latent dragon camp anymore after staying here for a few days. One day, the city governor of Mount Hill City summoned Duan Lingtian and the other 3 before him and said, "Today, the 4 of you will spar in front of me. The strong are revered in the Dao martial saint land, so your seniority will be ranked according to your strength." Among them, apart from Jin Yuanbao who had addressed Duan Lingtian and Ling Yun as senior brother, the others did not address anyone as senior brother nor did they refer to themselves as junior brother. The city governor of Mount Hill City had discovered this and planned to rank their seniority today. "Master, let me go first. If Shanghu can defeat me, I'm willing to be the youngest junior brother." Jin Yuanbao took the lead and volunteered. "Very well." The city governor of Mount Hill City nodded and stood at the side with Duan Lingtian and Ling Yun as they watched Jin Yuanbao and Shanghu who were about to fight. "Jin Yuanbao, you're still the same. Always unwilling to submit to me." Shanghu was not surprised Jin Yuanbao wanted to challenge him. He looked at Jin Yuanbao with a dignified expression, ready to react if Jin Yuanbao were to attack. Although he ranked before Jin Yuanbao in the latent dragon camp's 13 gangsters, he was not much stronger than him. Every time, they would only know the outcome of the battle after 100 moves. After Duan Lingtian had broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage, he discovered something. Even without utilizing the strange pupil, he could still clearly see Jin Yuanbao and Shanghu's movements. It seems that because of broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage, apart from my body becoming stronger, all my organs are also different from ordinary martial cultivators at the Master Immortal shedding stage, Duan Lingtian speculated inwardly. Apart from that, Duan Lingtian could not think of another explanation. Jin Yuanbao and Shanghu fought fiercely, going back and forth. Duan Lingtian felt a little sleepy as he continued to watch the battle that was evenly matched. Duan Lingtian only woke up 100 moves later when Jin Yuanbao fell to a disadvantageous position. Shanghu finally defeated Jin Yuanbao after another 30 moves. It's about 130 moves again. Jin Yuanbao wiped the bloodstains at the corner of his mouth as he frowned. 2 more moves compared to the previous time. Shanghu smiled faintly and said, "Junior brother Jin, shouldn't you address me as your senior brother now?" Senior brother Shang. Although Jin Yuanbao was a bit reluctant, he was not shameless. He addressed Shanghu as senior brother before he stood to the side. Regardless if it were Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun or the city governor of Mount Hill City, no one was surprised by the result. After Shanghu consumed a 2-star healing medicinal pill that the city governor of Mount Hill City had thrown him, he quickly recovered to his top form. Then, his eyes immediately shifted to Duan Lingtian. "Duan Lingtian, I know I'm no match for Ling Yun, we'll spar now. If you win, I'll address you as senior brother. If I win, you," Shanghu looked at Duan Lingtian. However, Duan Lingtian interrupted him before he could finish his sentence. "If you win, I'll also address you as senior brother." Good. How direct. Shanghu grinned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. "Come here then." Under the eyes of the city governor of Mount Hill City, Ling Yun, and Jin Yuanbao, Duan Lingtian stepped forward. Moments later, he stood unmoving like a mountain in front of Shanghu as they prepared to battle. Jin Yuanbao looked at Shanghu with a hint of pity in his eyes. In his opinion, Shanghu was merely a little bit stronger than he was, and he himself knew that he was not as strong as Duan Lingtian. It was impossible for Shanghu to be a match for Duan Lingtian. He could already envision the scene of Shanghu being defeated by Duan Lingtian. However, what happened next was beyond his expectation. It was not just him, even the city governor of Mount Hill City and Ling Yun were surprised as well. Under their watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian stood still for a long time. Finally, Shanghu attacked first. Although Shanghu was ranked number 2 among the 13 gangsters, he did not dare to let his guard down around Duan Lingtian since even Jin Yuanbao acknowledged he was not as good as him. When he attacked, he unleashed his strength without holding back. However, he was still blasted away by Duan Lingtian, who had suddenly disappeared from his sight even though he had unleashed his full strength. The moment before he was blasted away, he only saw a flash in front of his eyes before Duan Lingtian appeared just a stone throw away in front of him. In just a split second, Duan Lingtian's fist landed on his body. That punch made his body tremble, and he flew out like a shot arrow. Duan Lingtian's fist felt like a sledgehammer falling on his chest and internal organs. After the clouds and mist drifted across the sky, Shanghu finally fell to the ground in an embarrassing manner. It was an obvious defeat. Silence. The entire place was deadly silent. Shanghu's dull breathing was the only thing that was audible. Impressive. When Jin Yuanbao regained his senses, he gave a thumbs up to Duan Lingtian. No wonder senior brother Duan is a prodigious martial cultivator from the mortal continent. He's so strong that he's comparable to an ordinary martial cultivator at the perfection mortal shedding stage. Although Jin Yuanbao remained calm outwardly, he was deeply shocked in his heart. Although he had confidence in Duan Lingtian, he thought he would need a few more moves to defeat Shanghu, who would have thought that Shanghu would be defeated in just one move. This granted him insight into Duan Lingtian's strength. This matter really shocked him. Is he really just a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? Jin Yuanbao exclaimed inwardly in disbelief. Ling Yun looked at Duan Lingtian solemnly. Earlier, he saw everything clearly when Duan Lingtian had attacked. At this moment, he even thought that Duan Lingtian's speed was not much slower than his. He knew Duan Lingtian was able to defeat enemies with higher cultivation base than him even though he was only at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so strong. Even Shanghu, who was at the peak of the Master Immortal shedding stage, could not endure more than one move. Master Immortal shedding stage. The city governor of Mount Hill City had checked Duan Lingtian's cultivation base with the spiritual secret tactic. He could not help but gasp inwardly. It was like tens of thousands of horses were running through his mind. It took him a while before he finally recovered. It had not been that long, but Duan Lingtian had made another breakthrough again. The city governor of Mount Hill City only managed to gradually calm himself down after he took a few deep breaths. Although he was shocked, he did not say anything. As the city governor of Mount Hill City, naturally, he knew what should be said and what should be done. He did not doubt that if news of Duan Lingtian's consecutive breakthroughs within such a short span of time spread out, he would definitely become a prime target. If the matter reached that point, it would not be good for Duan Lingtian. This was because everyone, including him, thought Duan Lingtian was hiding some huge secret since he managed to break through 2 levels in such a short time. Naturally, there might be other reasons, but others would not think so. People would rather err on the side of caution. They would rather kill than to let someone go. That was the rule of conduct for greedy people. Therefore, in order to protect Duan Lingtian, he kept quiet even though he was extremely shocked. As long as he remained silent, Ling Yun and the others would not find out that Duan Lingtian had broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage. In their eyes, Duan Lingtian was still a terrifying martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. When he was at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, he was already able to defeat most of the martial cultivators at the Master Immortal shedding stage. Now that he has broken through to the Master Immortal shedding stage, I'm afraid that even Ling Yun won't be able to contend with him, the city governor of Mount Hill City thought to himself. At the same time, he was in a good mood because he felt that he had obtained a treasure. Senior brother Duan. After Shanghu consumed a healing medicinal pill and caught his breath, he stood up slowly. He looked at Duan Lingtian with respect and admiration in his eyes. He submitted to Duan Lingtian from the bottom of his heart. The purple-clad young man had sent him flying and defeated him in just a move. Since the other party had addressed him as senior brother, naturally, Duan Lingtian had to show a bit of concern. He asked with a smile, "Are you all right?" His eyes fell on Ling Yun after he ascertained that Shanghu was fine. "You're very strong." Ling Yun stepped forward and looked at Duan Lingtian solemnly. "Previously, I didn't think I would be wary of facing a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator." "You're not weak either," Duan Lingtian replied calmly. Duan Lingtian. At this moment, the city governor of Mount Hill City's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears in a timely manner through true energy voice transmission. "Don't expose your cultivation base at the Master Immortal shedding stage so easily." Duan Lingtian was not surprised the city governor of Mount Hill City knew about his breakthrough since he had sensed his spiritual energy sweeping over him. It made him feel like he was completely seen through when he was defeating Shanghu. It was then he knew the city governor of Mount Hill City had doubts about his cultivation base and had used the spiritual secret tactic to check his cultivation base. However, Duan Lingtian could hear a trace of anxiousness in the city governor of Mount Hill City's voice. This surprised him. Chapter 14:11. It seems like teacher does care for me. It's obvious he gave me a reminder because he didn't want too many people to know I've broken through again. Truth be told, it hasn't been that long since I've broken through to the intermediate mortal shedding stage. If news of my current breakthrough to the Master Immortal shedding stage spreads out, it might cause unnecessary trouble. After all, the speed of my breakthroughs is just too outrageous. Duan Lingtian understood the city governor of Mount Hill City's good intention. He felt a sense of warmth. If he was a bit insincere when he addressed the city governor of Mount Hill City as teacher earlier, then now, he truly treated the city governor of Mount Hill City as his teacher. The city governor of Mount Hill City was the second person whom Duan Lingtian sincerely regarded as his teacher ever since his arrival in this world. As for the first person, it was Cloud Continent's Sima Chongfeng. Sima Chongfeng used to be the dean of Crimson Sky Kingdom's Paladin Academy. Duan Lingtian had relocated it to the Lingtian sect before he left the overseas Saint Islands. Duan Lingtian had always regarded Sima Chongfeng as his teacher even though he was currently millions of times stronger than Sima Chongfeng. This was not because he had taught him a lot of things. On the contrary, he barely taught him anything. He respected Sima Chongfeng because he had helped him many times previously. He would never forget his kindness. Currently, the city governor of Mount Hill City's position in Duan Lingtian's heart had risen substantially even though it was still not comparable to Sima Chongfeng. "Duan Lingtian, you're an honorable opponent," Ling Yun stared at Duan Lingtian and said solemnly, "If you're an ordinary martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, I wouldn't bother using my sword. In fact, most martial cultivators at the mastery mortal shedding stage are not even worthy of me using my sword. I'll have to use my sword in our battle, however, I'll allow you to attack first. I'll give you a head start since you're just a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage," Ling Yun said, as his face heated up from embarrassment. With his cultivation base at the perfection mortal shedding stage, even if he did not make the first move during the battle against a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, he still had the unfair advantage when he used his sword. Therefore, he felt a little embarrassed. However, he had no choice but to do that. He would not have cared if it was just an ordinary martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. However, this Duan Lingtian had defeated Shanghu, who was ranked number 2 among the 13 gangsters, in just one move. He was strong enough that Ling Yun had to treat him with caution. "Are you certain you want me to make the first move?" Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at Ling Yun calmly. "Yes." Ling Yun nodded. Was that a joke? He already had an unfair advantage of fighting a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, even though his own cultivation base was at the perfection mortal shedding stage. How embarrassing would it be if he insisted on making the first move? "You'll regret this," Duan Lingtian said as he stared intently at Ling Yun. Ling Yun, never regret anything," Ling Yun said slowly as his eyes glinted. Duan Lingtian smiled so widely that he managed to creep Ling Yun out. Following that, under the watchful eyes of Ling Yun and the others, a layer of silver luster shone on Duan Lingtian's body. It was as though he was wearing a silver coat. Silver shirt. The city governor of Mount Hill City's eyes lit up when he saw the silver luster on the surface of Duan Lingtian's skin. It was obvious he recognized the defensive move Duan Lingtian was using. Then again, the human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic that contained the silver shirt was one of the saint-grade martial tactics available in the merit pavilion of the city governor's estate. As the city governor of Mount Hill City, he naturally knew that. After Duan Lingtian cast the silver shirt, he raised his left hand, and the sun-shooting bow appeared. Subsequently, true energy shot out from his right hand and condensed into an arrow, and he knocked it on the sun-shooting bow. Duan Lingtian slightly drew the bowstring that was made from the tendon of a 5-clawed devil dragon and instantly released it. Shoo! In just a split second, a solid arrow ray shot out like a meteor shooting across the sky. Following that, Duan Lingtian flew out along with it, standing firmly on the arrow ray. The air compressed before it exploded in their wake. Body and arrow synchronization. Duan Lingtian was so fast that Shanghu and Jin Yuanbao, who were standing at the side, could not catch his movements at all. So fast. The city governor of Mount Hill City's eyes widened in shock. Although he knew Duan Lingtian's cultivation base had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage and was not weaker than a martial or Dao cultivator at the perfection mortal shedding stage, he did not expect his arrow to be so fast. Even an arrow shot by a martial cultivator at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage with his full strength wouldn't be so fast. The city governor of Mount Hill City's heart skipped a beat. So fast. As the party involved, Ling Yun regretted his choice as soon as Duan Lingtian shot the arrow. Unfortunately, there was no use in crying over spilled milk. Just as he was about to move to the side, his hands touching the hilt of the sword on his back, he discovered the figure that was still quite a distance away earlier had arrived before him. Bang! Before he could even react, Ling Yun was sent flying away by Duan Lingtian's punch, similar to Shanghu. Unlike Shanghu, who had fallen to the ground in an embarrassing manner, Ling Yun managed to land on his feet even though his body swayed, and he was pale. Suddenly, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked as though he had seen a ghost when he looked at Duan Lingtian again. Although he had expected Duan Lingtian's strength to be comparable to an ordinary martial cultivator at the perfection mortal shedding stage, he did not expect him to be so strong. Once he made the first move, Ling Yun did not even have the chance to avoid it or draw his sword. Is he really a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? At this moment, Ling Yun truly felt skeptical. However, he dismissed the thought when he recalled Duan Lingtian had just broken through to the intermediate mortal shedding stage 3 months ago. It was even confirmed by 2 Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses using the spiritual secret tactic. It's impossible for Duan Lingtian to break through again in just 3 months. Ling Yun was very certain on that. What a joke! To break through from the intermediate mortal shedding stage to the mastery mortal shedding stage in just 3 months, even the top prodigy in the Dao martial saint land was not capable of that. Even if they had the best resources and cultivation environment, it was just not possible to break through within such a short period of time. Good, good. The city governor of Mount Hill City stared at Duan Lingtian with sparkling eyes as the fat on his cheeks jiggled due to his excitement. Although he had guessed that Duan Lingtian might defeat Ling Yun after he discovered he had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage, he did not expect him to defeat him in just one move. Duan Lingtian's current strength had surpassed the old Su Qi. Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao were simply dumbfounded. They stood rooted to their spots, and it took them a while before they regained their senses. Although they knew Duan Lingtian was strong, they did not expect him to be so strong. He had the advantage by striking first, and he defeated Ling Yun before he even had time to react. He defeated senior brother Ling Yun with one move. Does this mean Duan Lingtian's stronger than senior brother Su Qi? Jin Yuan Bao muttered after gasping. Yes, even senior brother Su Qi needed 3 moves to defeat senior brother Ling Yun. Shanghu nodded. Both Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao genuinely submitted to Su Qi's strength. Sure enough, if I use the silver shirt, along with the strength of my physical body, and I fully unleash my strength, it'll surpass someone at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage. Earlier, Duan Lingtian managed to defeat Ling Yun instantly because he had the advantage of striking first and had unleashed almost all his strength. With my current strength, I might be able to fight a martial or Dao cultivator who had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Naturally, it'll still be quite difficult for me to win. Duan Lingtian was aware of his own strength in this regard. The perfection mortal shedding stage was not comparable to the paramount shedding stage. If it's the old Su Qi, he wouldn't be a match for Duan Lingtian indeed. However, Su Qi has just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage just half a month ago, the city governor of Mount Hill City said with a smile when he heard Jin Yuan Bao and Shanghu's words. The city governor of Mount Hill City's words froze Ling Yun, Shanghu, and Jin Yuan Bao. Senior brother Su Qi has broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. He broke through to the paramount mortal shedding stage before he turned 40, oh, God. What kind of innate talent is that? Having such innate talent, he can be considered as a first-rate monstrous prodigy even in the Moon Illumination sect. He'll be valued by the top official in the Moon Illumination sect and they'll even train him vigorously. Shanghu and Jin Yuan Bao felt a little envious as they discussed this. Su Qi has broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian was surprised. Similar to him, Su Qi was also a martial cultivator from the mortal continent. As a martial cultivator from the mortal continent, even if he had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage, his strength was not comparable to an ordinary person at the paramount mortal shedding stage who was native to the Dao martial saint land. Duan Lingtian thought about it and honestly felt he was not confident fighting Su Qi who had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Speaking of the Moon Illumination sect, in 6 months' time, the Moon Illumination sect will open its doors to recruit new disciples. At that time, the 18 cities, including us, will send our best disciples there. The city governor of Mount Hill City said, among the 4 of you, Duan Lingtian and Ling Yun will definitely pass the Moon Illumination sect's test and join them. Shanghu, Jin Yuan Bao, it's not impossible for both of you if you manage to improve within the next 6 months. Moon Illumination sect was a powerful sect that controlled the 18 cities, including Mount Hill City. It was a 7th-rate force that also controlled a Grade 7 Saint Stones reserve. Even the city governor of Mount Hill City was a known disciple of the Moon Illumination sect. In order to amaze the world with a single feat during the entrance exam of the Moon Illumination sect, Su Qi has gone into closed-door cultivation recently. He's preparing to cultivate 3 moves from a human-rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic to the impeccable stage, the city governor of Mount Hill City said as he looked at the 4 of them. Chapter 14:12. Duan Lingtian and his companions were shocked after listening to the city governor of Mount Hill City's words. Would he be able to cultivate 3 different moves from a human-rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic to the impeccable stage? It was important to note that the impeccable stage was the 5th and highest stage of a move in saint-grade martial tactics. Su Qi wanted to cultivate all 3 different moves to the highest stage. All 3 of them knew without a doubt that the 3 moves were the offensive move, defensive move, and movement move. However, they did not think Su Qi would be so ambitious. Only Duan Lingtian was not surprised by this. This was because Duan Lingtian was also cultivating a human-rank prominent saint-grade martial tactic art. Furthermore, the human-rank prominent saint-grade martial tactic he was cultivating was not a run-of-the-mill human-rank prominent saint-grade martial tactic. The human rank prominent saint grade martial tactic he was cultivating had a very powerful defensive move that was comparable to the defensive move of an earth rank saint grade martial tactic. Only saint stage powerhouses were able to cultivate earth rank saint grade martial tactics. Therefore, as long as he was able to successfully cultivate that defensive move, his defense would be impenetrable to anyone beneath the saint stage. As long as he used his true energy in that defensive move, no one among his peers, regardless if they were a martial cultivator or a Tao cultivator, could penetrate his defense. One could imagine how powerful a move it was to be able to compare to an earth rank saint grade martial move. As long as one cultivated any one of the moves in the colossal arrow-light arrow until the competent stage, it would be comparable to a move at the impeccable stage of a human rank mediocre saint grade martial tactic. That was the difference between the saint grade martial tactics. Therefore, Duan Lingtian was not surprised Su Qi planned to cultivate 3 different human rank mediocre moves to the impeccable stage. Who would have thought that the Moon Illumination sect's entrance exam will be held in half a year's time? Duan Lingtian was surprised. He had heard Guo Li talked about the Moon Illumination sect previously. She also mentioned the relations between the Moon Illumination sect and the 18 cities, therefore, he was only surprised the entrance exam would be held in 6 months' time. Duan Lingtian, you're even more talented than Su Qi, work hard. I believe you'll achieve amazing things in the Moon Illumination sect in the future. The city governor of Mount Hill City communicated with Duan Lingtian through True Energy voice transmission. He was very confident about Duan Lingtian's ability. Yes, teacher, I will work even harder. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian was more sincere now when he addressed the city governor of Mount Hill City as teacher. Okay, the city governor of Mount Hill City nodded with a smile. He was very confident and optimistic about Duan Lingtian. I wish to leave the city governor's estate for some personal matters, teacher, Duan Lingtian said to the city governor of Mount Hill City when he was about to return to his chambers in the evening. The city governor of Mount Hill City approved his request wordlessly. Duan Lingtian left the estate as the sun slowly set in the horizon, holding a small jade tablet that was just given to him by the city governor of Mount Hill City. The city governor of Mount Hill City gathered Ling Yun and the other 2 people after Duan Lingtian left the estate. 3 of you, don't spread the news about Duan Lingtian's strength. Do you understand? The city governor of Mount Hill City said solemnly to Ling Yun and the other 2 people. If a tree was taller than the canopy, strong winds would definitely destroy it. He did not dare to be careless since there was still more than half a year before the entrance exam of Moon Illumination sect. Naturally, he was not worried that anyone would give Duan Lingtian a hard time in Mount Hill City. That would be the joke of the century. If any accident happened to the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City in Mount Hill City, then he should just find tofu and use it to kill himself. The competition between the 18 cities managed by the Moon Illumination sect was extremely fierce. He was worried about the 17 cities. If they knew another genius, apart from Su Qi, had appeared, it was very likely the 17 cities would try and sabotage them. He had to take precaution. It was easy to avoid a direct attack, but it was hard to defend against schemes. Yes, although 3 of them were unaware of the city governor of Mount Hill City's worries, all of them still agreed without any hesitation. The city governor of Mount Hill City nodded in satisfaction. After Ling Yun and the other 2 returned to their rooms, the city governor of Mount Hill City smiled. I didn't expect to meet another peerless genius after Su Qi. Peerless genius. This was his appraisal of Duan Lingtian. He did not even say that about Su Qi. It was obvious he thought Duan Lingtian was even more talented than Su Qi. After Duan Lingtian showed the jade tablet at the entrance of the city governor's estate, the guards respectfully saluted him. They were only at ease after he left the gates of the city governor's estate. The jade tablet was given to him by the city governor of Mount Hill City. Mount Hill Order, he's young Master Su Qi, the pride of the city governor. One of the guards mumbled as he looked at Duan Lingtian's silhouette. Mount Hill Order was a representation of the city governor. There was only 2 Mount Hill Order in the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, one of it was in the city governor's possession, and the other was awarded to his favorite disciple, Su Qi. I've seen Lord Su Qi. That's not him. The other guard shook his head. He's one of the 4 new disciples that Lord City Governor recruited, Duan Lingtian. However, he shouldn't be stronger than Ling Yun, the leader of the 13 gangster in the latent dragon camp. How come Lord City Governor gave him the precious Mount Hill Order instead of giving it to Ling Yun? I don't understand. One of the guards who recognized Duan Lingtian shook his head. I heard he's from the mortal continent. I remember young Master Suchi is also from the mortal continent. It seems Lord City Governor loves to assist genius martial cultivators from the mortal continents. Another guard speculated. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of the commotion the jade tablet in his hand had caused. Although he received the jade tablet from the city governor of Mount Hill City, he did not know the significance of the jade tablet. All the city governor told him was he could move freely through the gates of the city governor's estate as long as he wore the jade tablet. Duan Lingtian went to the captain of the city guards, Hong Yu's home immediately after leaving the city governor's estate to look for the little girl, Zizi. Big brother, big brother. The little girl immediately leapt on Duan Lingtian when she saw him. She looked very cute with her rosy cheeks. Duan Lingtian looked at the little girl dotingly and asked, Zizi, did you miss your big brother? Yes. The little girl nodded like a chick pecking on grains. Zizi misses big brother very much. I even dreamed of big brother yesterday. Really? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile, what was I doing in your dream? I dreamed big brother brought Zizi flying in the sky. We flew very high, far higher than the time big brother Hong Yu brought me flying, the little girl said as she tried to demonstrate the height with her hands. Big brother Hong Yu brought you flying? Duan Lingtian laughed and said, you haven't been naughty, have you, Zizi? No, Zizi's very obedient. If you don't believe me, you can ask big sister, the little girl said as she looked at the beautiful woman standing at the side. She was Hong Yu's wife. Yes, Zizi's very obedient, Hong Yu's wife said as she looked at the little girl dotingly. Sorry for troubling you during this period of time, sister-in-law. Duan Lingtian looked at Hong Yu's wife and smiled. He retrieved a spatial ring before passing it to her. He said, this is for you, sister-in-law. This is. However, Hong Yu's wife did not accept it. There are 1,000 8th grade saint stones in there for you and big brother Hong Yu to use, Duan Lingtian said. 1,000 8th grade saint stones. Hong Yu's wife was shocked when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Although Hong Yu was the captain of the city guards, his salary was merely 40 grade 8 saint stones. Hong Yu needed to save 2 years of salary before he would be able to save 1,000 grade 8 saint stones. Please put it away, brother Lingtian. Please. When Hong Yu's wife finally understood Duan Lingtian's intention, she refused the spatial ring he had given her. Take it, sister-in-law. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. This is a little thank you gift. Brother Lingtian, since you are my husband's brother then you're not an outsider. You don't need to regard yourself as an outsider. If I accept your saint stones, my husband will definitely be upset. Hong Yu's wife continued to refuse. She was extremely unwilling to accept Duan Lingtian's saint stones. If you really insist on giving it, please give it directly to Hong Yu, Hong Yu's wife said after seeing how insistent Duan Lingtian was. Duan Lingtian forced a smile on his face. He knew that was the only way. After Zizi went to play with Hong Yu's son, Duan Lingtian looked at Hong Yu's wife and asked, sister-in-law, did big brother Hong discover anything regarding Zizi's background? No, Hong Yu's wife shook her head and said, he went to investigate based on what you said and managed to confirm that the people that trafficked Zizi are outsiders. They stayed in Mount Hill City for just a day before disappearing. Duan Lingtian sighed after listening to Hong Yu's wife. Although Duan Lingtian knew it was almost impossible to find out the little girl's background, he still felt disappointed when he heard the news. On the second floor of an insignificant inn in Mount Hill City, 3 men were gathered in a corner room. A youth, a middle-aged man, and an old man. Both the middle-aged man and the old man was focused on the young man standing before them. Uncle Chang, Elder Lin, Duan Lingtian finally left the city governor's estate, the young said excitedly to the other 2 people as his eyes gleamed with killing intent. If Duan Lingtian was around, he would definitely recognize this young man. It was none other than Zhang Jian who was thrown into the manure pit after he was defeated. Zhang Jian was ranked 5th among the 13 gangsters, but he was expelled from both the city governor's estate and the latent dragon camp due to him accidentally killing his distant cousin, Hu Jia. Chapter 14-13. That night, Hong Yu was also surprised when he saw Duan Lingtian the moment he returned home. Brother Lingtian, it has been quite some time since we last met up. I heard you've become the disciple of Lord City Governor. As your older brother, I'd like to congratulate you. Tonight, let's not return until we're drunk. Hong Yu was smiling widely. He dragged Duan Lingtian along, and they drank till late at night until they were completely drunk. Naturally, only Hong Yu was drunk. Although Duan Lingtian did not use his true energy to expel the alcohol from his body was currently even stronger than a 5-clawed divine dragon at his level. It was difficult for him to get drunk even if he wanted to. On the second day, Duan Lingtian passed the 1008th grade saint stones that were rejected yesterday to Hong Yu, who was finally sober. It caused Hong Yu to turn glum immediately. Brother Lingtian, what do you mean by this? Big brother Hong, I'm indebted to you and your wife for taking care of ZZ during this period of time. Just take these saint stones as the living expenses for ZZ. Duan Lingtian smiled. Brother Lingtian, what do you take me for? Since I've acknowledged you as my brother, I, naturally, regard ZZ as my own younger sister as well. Hurry up and keep that saint stones. Otherwise, don't blame me for severing our relationship. Hong Yu's face turned even glummer. One could clearly see how displeased he was. Big brother Hong, please don't be angry. I've spoken out of turn. Duan Lingtian did not expect Hong Yu to react this way. He smiled awkwardly. In this case, just take these 1008th grade saint stones as the cultivation fees for my 2 nephews and ZZ. Big brother Hong, your salary each month is not high. After subtracting the cultivation expenses, daily expenses for you and your wife, as a beast tamer, you'll still need to spend a number of saint stones on taming wild beasts. Duan Lingtian said earnestly when he reached this point. Big brother Hong, I don't care what you think, but the kids are at the time when they should be strengthening their foundations now. We shouldn't slack when it comes to this. Hong Yu turned silent after listening to Duan Lingtian. Indeed, his 2 kids would start their cultivation soon. If there was an endless supply of saint stones, they could definitely rise to the top in a short time. Previously, he had no saint stones, so he could only absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy to cultivate. Although he was the captain of the city guards, his monthly salary was only several dozens of 8th grade saint stones. If he was not a beast tamer, it might have been enough for his family to survive. Since he was a beast tamer, the money he spent on food for the fierce beasts was quite a lot. Big brother Hong, just accept it. You're my brother, so why do you need to calculate so much with me? Besides, you know that apart from being one of the 13 gangsters, I've also become Lord City Governor's disciple now. I'm not lacking in saint stones at all. When Duan Lingtian saw Hong Yu had remained silent, he knew he was considering the matter now. He seized the opportunity and quickly struck while the iron was hot. Upon hearing this, Hong Yu remained silent for a while more before he gritted his teeth. Brother Lingtian, in that case, I won't reject your offer anymore. However, I hope this is only a one-time thing, and it won't happen again. He had a solemn expression on his face. Sure, Duan Lingtian agreed without any hesitation. As long as Hong Yu agreed to it, everything would be fine. He could just pass the saint stones to ZZ next time and ask her to give it to his 2 little nephews. Somehow, Duan Lingtian and Hong Yu's conversation shifted to ZZ's background. Brother Lingtian, if we can't obtain any clue about ZZ's background, let her stay with me. My wife and I like her a lot. On top of that, my 2 little boys seem unwilling to part with her as well, Hong Yu suggested. Alright, Duan Lingtian agreed. He knew very well that this was the best option. The little girl ZZ could not constantly remain by his side. If she stayed in Hong Yu's house, she would at least have a home. At that time when she had finally grown up and got married, it could be considered as her having a good life. If she followed him, not only would it be inconvenient, she would encounter danger as well. After all, his objective was to become a powerhouse who stood at the summit of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Who knew how much danger was waiting for him on this journey? He could not let her risk her life along with him. In the next few days, Duan Lingtian did not go anywhere. He only remained in Hong Yu's house. During the day, he would accompany the little girl ZZ. During the night, he would cultivate in his room. I'll have to leave Mount Hill City 6 months later to go to the Moon Illumination sect. Once I leave, I don't know how long it'll be before I return. It was precisely because of this that Duan Lingtian decided to accompany the little girl ZZ. Tonight, Duan Lingtian cultivated quietly in his room. To be more precise, he was cultivating on the 2nd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. The 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda had transformed into dust and was lying quietly on the bed. It's a success. It was the 6th day of his stay in Hong Yu's house, but he had spent 9 days on the 2nd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. During these 9 days, he finally managed to cultivate the move from the Saint-grade martial tactic colossal arrow light arrow, the body and arrow synchronization, to the competent stage. The competent stage was the third stage of the Saint-grade martial tactic. It was equivalent to the fifth stage, the impeccable stage, of a move from a human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic. Now, my speed is finally up to par. I'm confident I can kill a native of the Dao martial Saint land who has just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian was brimming with confidence as his eyes shone. Boom, 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 comma. Suddenly, the entire Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda shook without warning. It was as though there was an earthquake. Before Duan Lingtian realized what was happening, he was already expelled from the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda by an irresistible force. After he was expelled from the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda, Duan Lingtian felt a wave of dizziness. This terrible feeling crept up on his body and caused his face to turn extremely grave. Who's that? There was no need to think about it, he knew some movement must have disturbed the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda. Otherwise, it would not expel him for no reason. Uncle Chang, Elder Lin, it's him. He's Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian's face turned grave and a murderous intent gleamed in his eyes when a deep voice entered his ears. The voice sounded kind of familiar. When Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes and looked at the source of the voice, he immediately saw a familiar figure. Zhang Jian. It was none other than Zhang Jian who was thrown into the manure pit by him and expelled from the latent dragon camp in the city governor's estate for accidentally killing Hu Jia. He used to rank 5th among the 13 gangsters, and he was also a martial cultivator at the mastery mortal shedding stage. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also saw another two people. It was a middle-aged man and an old man. These two were obviously here to support Zhang Jian. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian instantly activated his divine eye. With just one look, he could see through the cultivation base of these two people. One of them was at the perfection mortal shedding stage, and the other was at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Paramount mortal shedding stage? Duan Lingtian's face turned glum. Wait a minute, he seemed to have noticed something. This old man's cultivation base seems unstable, he has just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when he noticed this. If he had just made a breakthrough to the paramount mortal shedding stage, Duan Lingtian was not completely robbed of the chance to win the battle. Duan Lingtian, it's your fault that I'm expelled from the latent dragon camp. You actually destroyed my future. You'll definitely die today. Glaring deadly at Duan Lingtian, Zhang Jian's eyes were bloodshot as he glared at Duan Lingtian. It was as though he itched to just swallow Duan Lingtian alive. Judging by the rage in his eyes, one would think Duan Lingtian had killed his father or stole his wife away. Duan Lingtian had already made up his mind after he confirmed the two people's cultivation base. He smirked when he heard Zhang Jian's words. It's my fault you're expelled from the latent dragon camp. I'm the one who destroyed your future. It seems like you're expelled from the latent dragon camp because you killed your distant cousin. No. You're blaming this incident on me. What a joke. He stared at Zhang Jian when he finished speaking. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made such a mistake. The moment Zhang Jian recalled the previous incident, he gnashed his teeth even harder. However, he was embarrassed to recount the incident out loud. It was just too humiliating. If I didn't throw you into the manure pit, you wouldn't have made that mistake. Duan Lingtian said mockingly. Although Zhang Jian tried to be vague with his words, Duan Lingtian had no intention of complying. Manure pit. Whether it was the middle-aged man or the old man, they were both stunned when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. They turned to look at Zhang Jian in unison. Although they were both from New South Town's Zheng clan, and they knew the purple-clad young man was the cause of Zhang Jian's expulsion from the latent dragon camp and the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, they did not hear anything about a manure pit before. Zhang Jian had been thrown into a manure pit. Just thinking about it made them feel disgusted as though they had just swallowed a fly. There was a hint of pity in their eyes when they looked at Zhang Jian now. Naturally, they did all these subconsciously. Why don't you think about it yourself? If you did not constantly provoke me and issued a challenge, would you be thrown into a manure pit by me and accidentally killed Hu Jia? Duan Lingtian continued to mock him. Zhang Jian's body was trembling violently from anger. Uncle Chang, Elder Lin, kill him. Kill him. Zhang Jian roared, his eyes were bloodshot. Zhang Chang, it's his fault that the strongest person among the youngest generation of the Zheng clan from New South Town is expelled from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. Due to this reason, he has committed an unforgivable crime. If you kill him, you'll be considered as successfully avenging our clan considered, the old man said coldly as he glared at Duan Lingtian with an equally cold gaze. Based on his words, it seemed like he did not intend to personally make a move. Perhaps, he did not think the purple-clad young man was not worthy of him personally making a move. Yes, Elder Lin, Zheng Chang, the middle-aged man, nodded and glared at Duan Lingtian coldly. Boy, atone for your actions in your next life, okay. Not everyone can afford to pick a fight with the Zheng clan of New South Town. I'm the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City. Aren't you afraid the city governor of Mount Hill City will annihilate the Zheng clan if you kill me? Duan Lingtian's gaze was sharp as he glanced at Zheng Chang, Zheng Lin, and Zheng Jian. Duan Lingtian, who will know Zheng clan killed you if you die here? Aren't you strong? I'd like to see how many moves you can evade from Uncle Chang, who's a powerhouse at the perfection mortal shedding stage, Zheng Jian mocked arrogantly. Chapter 14:14. In this case, is your Zheng clan trying to seek death? Duan Lingtian asked nonchalantly as he narrowed his eyes. From the very beginning, Duan Lingtian's expression did not change at all. Although he was just told that the person who was going to attack him was a martial cultivator at the perfection mortal shedding stage, his expression remained calm. This caused Zheng Lin's heart to sink. For a moment, he even felt that there had to be someone protecting Duan Lingtian in the dark for him to be so daring. However, he soon dismissed this thought. According to Zheng Jian, there was nobody next to Duan Lingtian ever since he left Mount Hill City. On top of that, the reason they did not make their move for so long was so they could observe him for a few days. They only decided to make a move after they ascertained that no one was protecting him in the dark. After all, if the news of them killing the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City spread out, a calamity would fall on the entire Zheng clan of New South Town. The city governor's estate of Mount Hill City estate was an 8th-rate force. It was easy for them to annihilate a 9th-rate force like the Zheng clan. Unless he has a Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse protecting him, and he's hiding in the sky, that's why we didn't notice him. However, this is highly unlikely. Zheng Lin made up his mind when he thought of this. There were not many Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses even in the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. In his opinion, even if Duan Lingtian was the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City, it was not enough for the city governor to dispatch a Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse just to protect him in the dark. Duan Lingtian, stop deceiving us. Today, no matter how calm your facade is and no matter what you say, you're still going to die. Zheng Jian smirked. From the moment you became my enemy, your destiny's already set in stones. You'll die without a doubt. Even after you've become the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City, you still can't change your fate. When he reached the end of his sentence, jealousy and hatred could be seen in his eyes. He was jealous and hated Duan Lingtian for being able to become a disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City. On the other hand, not only did Zheng Jian fail to become the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City, he was actually expelled from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. He wanted Duan Lingtian to die. Only then would he be able to vent his anger and regain the balance in his mind. So what if you're the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City? You'll still die in my New South Town's Zheng clan's hands anyway. Zheng Jian's eyes were filled with disdain when he looked at Duan Lingtian. You look down on me. Duan Lingtian smiled brilliantly when he saw Zheng Jian's gaze. Zheng Jian, you've suffered a defeat at my hands, and yet you still have the audacity to look at me like that. Looks like the lesson you were taught previously is not enough, huh? The moment his words left his mouth, he was already charging toward Zheng Jian without giving Zheng Qian time to react. Zheng Jian did not expect Duan Lingtian to make a move on him. His expression immediately turned horrified. You're looking for death. Zheng Chang snarled loudly. It was as though he had transformed into a bolt of lightning when he charged at Duan Lingtian at a speed that was much faster than Duan Lingtian. With the speed that Duan Lingtian was currently using, by the time he arrived before Zheng Jian, Zheng Chang had arrived in a timely manner to block his attack. This was why Zheng Lin, the martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage, did not make a move at all and merely watched coldly from the sidelines. Is he really just a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? Based on his speed, he's on par with most martial cultivators at the mastery mortal shedding stage. However, he's still a little too inexperienced to try and kill someone in front of Zheng Chang. Zheng Lin smirked inwardly as he watched coldly from the side. When Duan Lingtian arrived in front of Zheng Jian, Zheng Chang had indeed made it in time. He positioned himself between Duan Lingtian and Zheng Jian and blocked his attack. Zheng Jian, who was so shocked to the point that he began to break out in cold sweat, shouted at the top of his lungs, "Uncle Chang, kill him." Idiot! A smile crept up on the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth when he saw Zheng Chang had appeared in front of Zheng Jian. It was a smile that indicated his plan had succeeded. When Zheng Chang saw this smile, his heart jolted and was filled with an ominous feeling. He was about to dismiss the ominous feeling when he noticed Duan Lingtian, who was standing before him, had taken out a tattered bow with just a raise of his hand. Sound of death. Along with the loud and cacophonous clang that resonated in the air, a solidified true energy light blade swept out. It looked like a death scepter when it forcibly beheaded Zheng Chang. Zheng Chang's eyes were still wide open, watching as he was severed from the other half of his body before his consciousness began to fade. From the beginning until the end, he did not even have a chance to make his move at all. However, this was not the end. After the true energy light blade that was similar to a death scepter beheaded Zheng Chang, it continued to sweep out and beheaded Zheng Jian as well. With just one move, he managed to kill 2 people. All of these happened in just a blink of an eye. It was so fast that even Zheng Lin could not react in time. In Zheng Lin's view, when Zheng Chang appeared in front of Duan Lingtian, his big head had already left his body in just a blink of an eye. It was the same for Zheng Jian. "You're seeking death," Zheng Lin snarled as soon as he regained his senses. His robes began to flutter even though there was no wind. His hair band had also snapped, causing it to flutter as well, looking like snakes writhing in the air. Meanwhile, a powerful aura rose from his body. It was as though he had transformed into a mountain as he charged at Duan Lingtian. He has only broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage and is still unstable. This is a good chance for me to practice my skills. Duan Lingtian was not afraid of Zheng Lin, who was charging at him in a frenzy. Instead, his eyes had immediately brightened. At the same time, the 52 saint veins in his body guided the true energy in his chi and covered his entire body in just a second, activating the silver shirt immediately. At this instant, Duan Lingtian's entire body seemed as though it was covered with a silver shirt, and his aura began to change as well. Duan Lingtian did not intend to take advantage of the furious Zheng Lin, who had thrown a punch over. Good timing. Duan Lingtian charged toward him excitedly. He punched out as well to gain an advantage by striking only after the enemy had struck. It was as though it had transformed into a cannonball guided by true energy as it clashed violently with Zheng Lin's punch. This punch had contained Duan Lingtian's full strength. After casting the silver shirt, his brute strength became even more appalling, and the true energy that was carried by the 52 saint veins completely exploded at this moment. A punch against a punch. Before the punches even met, a series of ear-piercing sounds of air detonation reverberated thunderously in the air. Bang! In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian's punch finally collided with Zheng Lin's punch. "Do you think that you can fight with me, Zheng Lin, just because you're able to kill Zheng Chang? You overestimate yourself too much." At that instant when their punches met, a smile-filled disdain bloomed on Zheng Lin's face. However, the smile on his face immediately froze in the next moment. As the 2 punches collided, a loud bang suddenly resonated in the air. A strong airwave swept out and turned many of the accessories in the room into powder. Even the door and windows were blasted open. Brother Lingtian. Naturally, the huge commotion had drawn Hong Yu over. When he arrived, he saw Duan Lingtian locked in a stalemate with an old man. Although Duan Lingtian's face was pale, the old man looked even more wretched. He was vomiting blood non-stop. Impossible. Impossible. Zheng Lin raised his head and looked at Duan Lingtian in disbelief. He did not use any saint weapon and neither did his opponent. Yet, in such a condition, he was thwarted by his opponent even though he was the one who had struck first to gain the upper hand. Moreover, he noticed his opponent had only suffered minor injuries even though he was grievously injured. He could not accept this. Was Duan Lingtian not martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? Did he not only have strength on par with a martial cultivator at the mastery mortal shedding stage? Not only did he manage to kill Zheng Chang, who was at the perfection mortal shedding stage, but he was even able to suppress him. Nothing's impossible. Duan Lingtian smirked. A hint of excitement gleamed in the depth of his eyes. It did not cross his mind that he could really defeat a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage heads-on when he unleashed his full strength. Although it was obvious his opponent had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage recently, it was still the paramount mortal shedding stage. Its strength was not something even people at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage could compare to. Don't be so happy yet. I didn't use any saint weapon earlier. Zheng Lin had recovered a little after consuming a healing medicinal pill. His aura instantly changed when he raised a full moon machete in his hand. A sharp aura rose on his body immediately. You didn't use any saint weapon, but I did. Duan Lingtian snorted before he lifted the sun-shooting bow in his hand. A man who had been defeated by him without the use of any saint weapon was trying to defeat him using a saint weapon. Did that person really think the sun-shooting bow in his hand was just a decoration? Zheng Lin's face turned extremely grave when he heard Duan Lingtian's words and saw the sun-shooting bow in his hand. He finally remembered Duan Lingtian did not use any saint weapon as well earlier. A sense of helplessness rose in his heart at this moment. Duan Lingtian, since you're fine, and there are already 2 casualties in my New South Town's Zheng clan, let's just call it a draw between you and my New South Town's Zheng clan. From today onward, let's not interfere with each other, what do you think? Zheng Lin asked with a sudden change of expression on his face when he realized it would be difficult for him to kill Duan Lingtian. Let's call it a draw. Let's not interfere with each other anymore. Duan Lingtian laughed mockingly. Do you think this is possible? Today, if I were a little weaker, would you have been willing to call it a draw and left me alone? Bang! With a speed as fast as a bolt of lightning, even Duan Lingtian did not expect this to happen too. Zheng Lin stomped on the ground and relied on the force to fly away instantly. His speed was so fast that he was not inferior to Duan Lingtian, who had yet to make a breakthrough in his movement technique. When Duan Lingtian regained his senses, Zheng Lin had already swept out of the window, and his figure was already disappearing in the night sky. Trying to flee, Duan Lingtian smirked. With a raise of his hand, he took out an arrow and shot it out, ready to give chase using his movement technique, body and arrow synchronization. With the help of the body and arrow synchronization, which he had recently broken through, he was confident he could catch up to Zheng Lin. However, an afterimage appeared in his left eye and entered the house. His attention immediately shifted to that person. The newcomer showed himself, and Duan Lingtian saw a handsome middle-aged man with an impressive bearing. At this moment, the middle-aged man was holding Zheng Lin in his hand as though he was an eagle holding on to a little chick. Chapter 14-15. Who are you? Being held by the middle-aged man, Zheng Lin's soul was almost trembling with fright. He did not manage to flee for long before he was powerlessly seized by this person. This person's strength far surpassed his. He must be at the peak of the paramount mortal shedding stage at least. However, the middle-aged man did not bother with him. Instead, he looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled. Duan Lingtian, I'll leave this person for you to deal with. The moment his words left his mouth, the middle-aged man casually threw Zheng Lin toward Duan Lingtian. When Zheng Lin was thrown by the middle-aged man, he tried to use the same tactic to escape again when he was momentarily freed from the restraint. However, would he be able to do that? Swish! A horrifying sound reverberated in the sky as a solidified true energy light blade swept out and sliced Zheng Lin's neck powerfully, instantly beheading him. The martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage who was brimming with energy just a moment ago had died without any chance of resurrection. Zheng Lin's head rolled to the side of the wall as blood trailed after it. It stopped by the wall, its eyes were still laced with panic. Gasp! This scene made Hong Yu gasp in shock. At the same time, he saw the remains of another 2 bodies that had also been severed into 2. Brother Lingtian, are you okay? Hong Yu looked at Duan Lingtian worriedly. If something happened to his brother in his house, he would not be able to live in peace for the rest of his life. I'm okay. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled at Hong Yu before looking at the middle-aged man who was smiling as he stared at him. Thank you for lending me a hand, senior. I wonder, who are you? No wonder Lord City Governor thinks so highly of you. You're indeed remarkable. The middle-aged man smiled. Why, your teacher's follower? Duan Lingtian was shocked when the light bulb came on in his mind. Curious, he asked, could it be that you're actually one of the 36 guardians under teacher's command, senior? Duan Lingtian did not activate his divine eye in front of this middle-aged man. This was because the feeling he had facing the middle-aged man was more or less the same feeling he had when he was faced with his teacher and the Heavenly Leader Guardian. Whether it was his teacher or the Heavenly Leader Guardian, both were Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses. You're smart. The middle-aged man smiled. I'm ranked second among the 36 guardians under Lord City Governor's command. Heavenly Strength Guardian, Duan Lingtian gasped. He did not think his guess would be correct. This person was indeed one of the 36 guardians under his teacher's command. Moreover, he was actually the Heavenly Strength Guardian who was ranked second. In the 36 heavenly stars, the heavenly leader was the first while the heavenly strength was second. I've already sent a report to Lord City Governor regarding the incident tonight. The New South Town's Jung clan will not be able to escape this time, Heavenly Strength Guardian said nonchalantly as though he was talking about some unimportant matter. To him, annihilating the entire Jung clan was easy. Only him alone was enough to raise havoc in the Jung clan and cut off all their chances to turn things around. I think, even Lord City Governor doesn't know you're capable of forcing a paramount mortal shedding stage powerhouse to flee, right? The Heavenly Strength Guardian studied Duan Lingtian from top to bottom curiously. When Duan Lingtian had just entered the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, he had already heard of Duan Lingtian. Initially, he did not give it much thought, but ultimately, he had no choice but to pay attention to him. Just a few days ago, Lord City Governor even ordered him to personally protect Duan Lingtian in the dark when he left the city governor's estate. At this moment, he realized how highly Lord City Governor regarded Duan Lingtian. He was protecting Duan Lingtian in the dark from the sky, so he had already seen the movement of the 3 Jung clan's members. Originally, he thought he would have to make the move, but it did not cross his mind that Duan Lingtian would be able to kill 2 of the Jung clan's members with his own power and even force the Jung clan's martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage to flee. He knew very well that Duan Lingtian would definitely be able to catch up to Zheng Lin. He had made his move because he wanted to get to know Duan Lingtian, this young genius who would enter the Moon Illumination sect in 6 months' time. This young man was officially even more dazzling than Su Qi. P. Paramount M. Mortal Shedding Stage. Hong Yu, who was in a daze, exclaimed out loud when he heard the Heavenly Strength Guardian's words. His gaze instantly shifted to Zheng Lin's head. This is a martial cultivator at the Paramount Mortal Shedding Stage. Hong Yu was completely bewildered. Disbelief was written on his face when he turned to look at Duan Lingtian again. He was merely a martial cultivator who had just broken through to the Paramount Mortal Shedding Stage, so his foundation was not very stable. If it wasn't because of this, I wouldn't have been able to defeat him, Duan Lingtian said as he shook his head. His words, naturally, were regarded as humble by Hong Yu and the Heavenly Strength Guardian. I'm Hong Yu, the captain of the city guards. My respect to you, Lord Heavenly Strength Guardian. Hong Yu paid his respect to the Heavenly Strength Guardian as he suppressed the astonishment in his heart. You're Hong Yu, the captain of the city guards. I've heard of you, indeed, you're not bad. After protecting Duan Lingtian for a few days in the dark, the Heavenly Strength Guardian also found out Duan Lingtian had quite a good relationship with Hong Yu. Due to this reason, he was courteous toward Hong Yu as well. He knew Duan Lingtian was a man who was destined to leave Mount Hill City. His achievements in the future would definitely not be inferior to Lord City Governor. Due to this reason, he did not dare to be discourteous toward Duan Lingtian's friend. Whoosh! The Heavenly Strength Guardian raised his hand, and the remains of the 3 bodies on the floor were taken away by him. After bidding goodbye to Duan Lingtian and nodding his head to Hong Yu, he left. There were only Duan Lingtian and Hong Yu left in the bloody room with its shattered door and windows. Hong Yu's gaze was complicated when he looked at Duan Lingtian. Although he knew Duan Lingtian was a one-of-a-kind genius martial cultivator, he did not expect him to be so heaven-defying. As it turned out, even a martial cultivator at the Paramount Mortal Shedding Stage was no match for him at all. Big Brother Hong, I'm sorry I'll have to trouble you to clean this mess up, Duan Lingtian said awkwardly as he glanced at the room. It's all right, I'll bring you to the other guest room first. As for this place, I'll ask some servants to clean it up. After he regained his senses, Hong Yu shook his head and quickly led Duan Lingtian to another guest room. From the beginning until the end, his feelings had remained complicated. What good deed had he done to deserve such a brother? A bizarre idea suddenly rose in his mind. Should he go to his ancestral graves and check if there was green smoke or not? Otherwise, why would he have such a fortuitous encounter? The incident today was only a small matter to Duan Lingtian. He knew very well if the New South Town's Zheng clan succeeded in killing him, everything would be fine. However, if things did not go well, they would have to face the threat of annihilation. Duan Lingtian was not affected by this. This was the law of this world where the strongest thrived. It was the law of the jungle, and it was the survival of the fittest. If one were a mouse, one should just stay quietly inside one's nest. One should not dream about pulling the cat's whiskers. It would only result in one's death. In the midnight sky above the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, two figures flashed across the sky. After leaving the city governor's estate, they continued to fly out. 30 minutes later, they came to a halt in the sky above a vast town. The New South town. As two figures descended, a bloody commotion erupted in the big mansion at the corner of this town. The Jung clan of the New South town was completely annihilated just like this. Before the day dawned, everybody in New South town was awakened from their dreams. More than half of New South town was permeated with the stench of blood. My goodness, who the hell did the Jung clan offend? The entire clan was annihilated in just a night. After the New South town's people learned that there was not even one survivor from the Jung clan, all of them gasped. After staying a few more days in Hong Yu's house, Duan Lingtian finally left and returned to the city governor's estate. After returning to the city governor's estate, he did not return to the huge mansion where the city governor of Mount Hill City resided. Instead, he returned to the latent dragon camp to greet Guo Li. He had decided to stay in the city governor of Mount Hill City's place to cultivate in the next period of time as he waited for the entrance exam for Moon Illumination sect. Duan Lingtian heard somebody calling him as soon as he entered the latent dragon camp. Zhu Lang. It was none other than Zhu Lang. Haha, Duan Lingtian, did you hear about it? The New South town's Jung clan has been annihilated. What good news, Zhu Lang announced happily. He appeared to be very delighted. New South town's Jung clan. Zheng Jian's clan, Duan Lingtian asked. Although he had already predicted this, he was still taken aback. His teacher was a little too efficient. Duan Lingtian did not know his teacher was furious upon learning that the New South town's Zheng clan's members tried to kill him. He had immediately ordered the Heavenly Leader Guardian and another Saint Rudiment stage revered elder to head to New South town to annihilate the entire Zheng clan. The people from the surrounding region of Mount Hill City from a ninth-rate force dared to provoke the almighty city governor of Mount Hill City. How could he possibly suppress his anger? Duan Lingtian, with your innate talent, it's basically a given that you'll enter the Moon Illumination sect after 6 months. I wonder when we will meet again after you leave. Guo Li sighed. She had learned he would not be staying in the latent dragon camp during this 6 months when Duan Lingtian called her out. She had come to the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City together with Duan Lingtian. However, Duan Lingtian was about to enter a 7th-rate force, but she had to stay behind and work hard in this 8th-rate force. If I have time, I'll come back and visit you and teach her. Besides, it's not like you won't get the opportunity to enter Moon Illumination sect in the future. Duan Lingtian smiled. He had come here to bid farewell to Guo Li. After all, he would definitely be leaving in a haste after 6 months. At that time, who knew if Guo Li had entered closed-door cultivation? Due to this reason, he thought it was better to bid her farewell now. Today, Duan Lingtian was only trying his luck. He did not know if she was in closed-door cultivation. If she was, he would have no choice but to come back again. After all, he was not here to challenge Guo Li. If he was here to challenge her, it would not matter if she was in closed-door cultivation or not. Staring at Duan Lingtian's disappearing silhouette, Guo Li's gaze was extremely complicated. She thought to herself, Guo Li, a man like that is beyond your reach. It was apparent Guo Li had already fallen for Duan Lingtian, whom she had only spent several months with. However, she had hidden her love away. She could tell Duan Lingtian only treated her as a good friend. If she crossed this line between them, who knew, they might not even be able to remain friends. She appreciated this friendship a lot after all. Chapter 14-16. During this time, apart from listening to the city governor of Mount Hill City's explanation about the martial Dao, Duan Lingtian spent the remaining time cultivating by himself in his room. Naturally, he had cultivated in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. He did not waste a single second at all. What was worth mentioning was Su Qi had also moved into the city governor of Mount Hill City's mansion as well. When Su Qi just moved in, Shanghu was eager to stir up trouble. He tried to create a conflict between Duan Lingtian and Su Qi, goading them to fight to see who was more suitable to become great senior brother. However, his plan was quickly thwarted due to the city governor of Mount Hill City's interference. Su Qi is the oldest among all of you. On top of that, he's also the first one to follow me by my side. Theoretically, he should be the great senior brother. The city governor of Mount Hill City said that because he was worried Su Qi would be defeated by Duan Lingtian and would not be able to get back up after the fall. Su Qi had followed him for many years, so, naturally, he knew his character very well. He was wild, intractable, and prideful among his peers. Sometimes, standing at the top was not necessarily a good thing. If one were to fall from so high up, one's bones might shatter completely. He was worried Su Qi would be defeated by Duan Lingtian because he had also learned that Duan Lingtian had killed a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage from the Zheng clan. Although the city governor of Mount Hill City managed to put a stop this, Su Qi still managed to catch on to some clues. Duan Lingtian. After Su Qi discovered his master had deliberately prevented him from having a match, Duan Lingtian and even talked to him personally about it, his pride received a great blow. Due to this reason, he directly went and looked for Duan Lingtian. "Senior brother Su Qi, is there anything I can help you with?" When Duan Lingtian walked out after opening his room door, he saw Su Qi standing there with a grave expression. He was instantly confused. He did not offend Su Qi, did he? "Duan Lingtian, I know master came to you and told you not to have a match with me. Due to this reason, I want to challenge you and prove that my title as great senior brother is not for nothing," Su Qi announced solemnly. Initially, when he had met Duan Lingtian, he did not even enter his eyes. It was only recently he learned that Duan Lingtian actually defeated Ling Yun in just one blow. Moreover, his master, even though he might not be a match for Duan Lingtian, even though he had already broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. This utterly angered him. The other party was only a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, and he was already a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage. What was the basis of their comparison? Naturally, Su Qi did not know Duan Lingtian had already broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage. Even if he knew, he would not be able to come to terms with it at all. "Senior brother Su Qi, did you misunderstand anything? Teacher didn't come and talk to me. I was the one who acknowledged I'm inferior to you." Duan Lingtian smiled wryly. Naturally, he would not reveal the things the city governor of Mount Hill City had told him when he came looking for him. Although he did not interact much with Su Qi, he could tell that he was a prideful person, and he might not be able to endure the blow of being defeated by him. In Su Qi's opinion, he was merely a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage after all. "No matter what, you and I will have to fight it out today." Su Qi's determination was out of Duan Lingtian's expectation. In the end, they even alerted the city governor of Mount Hill City, Ling Yun, Shanghu, and Jin Yuan Bao. "Duan Lingtian, just have a match with him. He'll need to face the truth eventually," the city governor of Mount Hill City told Duan Lingtian through voice transmission, sighing, "Remember, don't show any mercy." He knew very well if Duan Lingtian had shown mercy and was seen through by Su Qi, a demon would be planted in Su Qi's heart even if he managed to win. Although this demon was only figurative, it would still exist in real life. Once the demon was planted, it would be hard for Su Qi to break through to the saint rudiment stage, let alone the saint stage. "Yes, teacher." Since the city governor of Mount Hill City had already made his intention clear, Duan Lingtian had no reason to refuse anymore. To be honest, he also wanted to know just how strong Su Qi really was. Although he was able to defeat the martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage from the New South Town's Zheng clan, it was only because the other party had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage not long ago, and he was a native of the Dao martial saint land. As for Su Qi, Duan Lingtian could see clearly through his divine eye that although his cultivation base at the paramount mortal shedding stage had not completely stabilized yet, he was still much stronger than that Zheng Lin. Most importantly, Su Qi was also a genius martial cultivator from the mortal continent. That means he had a solid foundation. Since they were going to have a match, Duan Lingtian, naturally, would not show any mercy. Even without the city governor of Mount Hill City's reminder, he would still give his all. Now that Duan Lingtian and Su Qi was finally going to fight, the person who was the most excited was none other than Shanghu. "Haha, finally, senior brothers Su Qi and Duan Lingtian are going to fight. This combat between a dragon and a tiger is definitely going to be interesting." Although Ling Yun and Jin Yuan Bao remained silent, a hint of anticipation could be seen in their eyes. Standing at the side of the vast mansion, the city governor of Mount Hill City looked at the two men locked in stalemate and announced, "Let's begin." Duan Lingtian and Su Qi, who were the main characters of this event, made their moves at almost the same time. Both of them were like leopards that charged out at lightning speed when they clashed directly with each other. Bang! A thunderous noise reverberated in the air as Duan Lingtian and Su Qi's punches collided. A rolling wave swept out tyrannically through the entire place. It was a good thing the gravitational force in the Dao Martial Saint land was strong, and the space was stable. Otherwise, these two people's collision would have created an impact wave that was strong enough to sweep out a few hundred meters away, at least if they were on Cloud Continent. Even so, the tyrannical airwave that swept out made the plants in the front courtyard sway violently. As expected of a genius martial cultivator from the mortal continent, Duan Lingtian was forced to retreat 7 steps by the force of Su Qi's punch. He looked solemnly at Su Qi, who was forced to retreat 5 steps. He had unleashed all his strength when he punched earlier. Moreover, he had also cast the silver shirt. All 52 saint veins carried the true energy out in a flash, and his brute strength had completely exploded. Even then, he fell to a disadvantageous position, although Su Qi did not use any saint-grade martial tactic yet. It might not be obvious, but he had clearly fallen into a disadvantageous position. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had no choice but to admit that Su Qi, this disciple who was trained by the city governor of Mount Hill City, was indeed not a simple person. At the very least, he was on a completely different level compared to that man at the paramount mortal shedding stage from the Zheng clan. Duan Lingtian was taken aback by Su Qi's strength, but Su Qi was even more taken aback. Is this Duan Lingtian really a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? Just a mere martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, and he's already this strong. If I didn't break through to the paramount mortal shedding stage, I wouldn't have been able to endure his blow. Su Qi's feelings were in turmoil, and he could not calm down for a very long time. Duan Lingtian's strength had completely baffled him. None of them used any saint weapons or saint-grade martial tactics, but his unreserved punch only managed to gain him a slight upper hand. He was a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage, for goodness sake. The person standing in front of him, on the other hand, was only a mere martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian, I heard you possess a bow that's not inferior to a human rank prominent saint weapon. Take it out, and let us fight without any reservation using our saint-grade martial tactic. A narrow saber had already appeared in Su Qi's hand. It was his saint weapon that he carried everywhere. As the disciple of the city governor of Mount Hill City, naturally, the things he had was not shabby. This narrow saber saint weapon was also a human rank prominent saint weapon. Its entire body was sparkling with light as though it was a bright moon. That's how it should be. Duan Lingtian had also taken out his sun-shooting bow. With the sun-shooting bow in his hand, his entire aura seemed to have undergone a transformation. He seemed like a vicious tiger that was baring its fangs. Come! As Su Qi's eyes narrowed, the narrow saber slashed through the sky. Green waves appeared in its wake and charged at Duan Lingtian. This slash seemed simple, but it contained a fearsome force. If this slash is a technique in the human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic, then it must have been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable stage. Duan Lingtian could see that Su Qi's slash was not simple. This simple-looking slash that was crisp and neat seemed as though it was capable of shattering the sky. The technique of this human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic that had been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable stage, possessed a force so powerful that it was comparable to the aerolite strike that Duan Lingtian had cultivated. Although the aerolite strike was only at the 3rd stage, the competent stage, its difficulty was high, and its force was much stronger because it was a technique from a human rank prominent stage saint-grade martial tactic. Body and arrow synchronization. In the face of Su Qi's strike that he launched first to gain the upper hand, Duan Lingtian did not dare to make any mistake. As an arrow soared through the sky, he flew out along with the arrow. He sailed in the air as though he was riding a bird. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, Su Qi was not somebody that was easily dealt with. When he saw Duan Lingtian had dodged his attack, he quickly gave chase as the saber ray that was released by his saber split into 3. It was hard to tell whether the saber ray was real or not. Each of them emitted a piercing aura. A sneer appeared on the corner of Su Qi's mouth when he thought he would overpower Duan Lingtian using the 3 saber rays. Suddenly, he noticed Duan Lingtian had come to a halt and was looking at the sky in the distance blankly. What are you doing? Su Qi's expression turned grave. His expression was extremely glum as he put away his saber. Could it be this Duan Lingtian was trying to deliberately lose to him? This made him feel humiliated. However, Duan Lingtian did not bother with Su Qi at all. Through his strange eye, he saw a figure charging toward the city governor's estate at a horrifying speed. An intruder. Duan Lingtian's heart jolted immediately. He could instantly smell the scent of danger. The second person who noticed something was wrong was the city governor of Mount Hill City. However, when he realized what was happening, the figure had already appeared in the sky above the city governor's estate and above Duan Lingtian and the others. It's a death penalty for those who trespass into the city governor's estate. At this moment, two figures rose up from the two sides of the large mansion and pounced toward the intruder menacingly like two flashes of lightning. Watch out! Horror dawned on the city governor of Mount Hill City. In the next instant, Duan Lingtian and the others' expressions turned horrified as well. Before the two people who had risen in the air managed to get close to the intruder, they were already pressed down by invisible energy. They turned lifeless as soon as they violently crashed on the ground. Chapter 14-17. They're dead, Duan Lingtian gasped as he looked at the two bodies on the ground. He was familiar with one of the men. It was none other than the leader of the 36 guardians under the city governor of Mount Hill City's command, the Heavenly Harm Guardian. He was also one of the few Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses in Mount Hill City. The other man was an old man. Although he did not know who he was, he knew he was a Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse as well. The fact that he was able to fly inside Mount Hill City was more than enough to prove his cultivation base. However, the two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses were killed by this intruder with just a blow. Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with dread when he looked at the intruder again. He finally had a good look at the intruder. It was a young man wearing a white robe with silver edges. He was handsome, but he had a disdainful smirk on his face as he looked down at them from the sky above. Gasp, 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 gasp. Su Qi, Ling Yun, Shang Hu, and Jin Yuanbao also gasped when they regained their senses. They were filled with dread as well when they looked at the white-robed young man. The two great Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses from the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City could not even defeat this man. Just how powerful was this person? When this person made his move earlier, they could not catch his movement at all. It seemed as though he had appeared out of thin air in the sky and suppressed the two great Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses before killing them. Naturally, they knew it was not this simple. This person must have made a move. However, they were unable to catch his movement due to their low cultivation base. Zhou Qi. At this moment, a thunderous snarl snapped Duan Lingtian and the other four back to reality. In the next instant, they saw the city governor of Mount Hill City's face was filled with a murderous hatred. He stomped loudly on the ground before he shot up into the air. Trenches appeared on the spot where he stood earlier and spread to the ground beneath Duan Lingtian and the other four. Before they even realized what was happening, they saw the city governor of Mount Hill City and that Zhou Qi was already locked in a battle. However, their speed was too fast so none of them could really capture their movements. Even when Duan Lingtian activated his strange pupil, he could only see two afterimages fighting with each other. What's that? A gust of true energy had appeared above his teacher and Zhou Qi and transformed into a gigantic hammer when they were battling with their saint weapons. The hammer was solidified from true energy. When Duan Lingtian was still puzzling over how the opponent could split part of his true energy to do this, the gigantic hammer smashed down toward his teacher. The sky trembled immediately, and a dull thud sounded. The city governor of Mount Hill City spat out a mouthful of blood and fell in a wretched manner. Teacher, Master. Duan Lingtian and the other four immediately went to hold the city governor of Mount Hill City who had fallen down. One could see the city governor of Mount Hill City's face was completely pale and fresh blood continued to flow from his mouth. A faint dripping noise could be heard as it dripped on the ground non-stop. True Energy Consolidated Weapon. Why you've broken through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. The city governor of Mount Hill City's eyes were filled with dread when he looked at Zhou Qi. The Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. The moment these words left the city governor of Mount Hill City's mouth, Duan Lingtian and the other four were stunned. The white-clad young man, Zhou Qi, was actually so powerful, and he was at the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. Tisk tisk, Fang Wei, you still didn't improve much just like last time. Looks like you're destined to remain like this for your entire life. Zhou Qi looked down at the city governor of Mount Hill City. His eyes gleamed with condescension and revealed a pure and unconcealed disdain. Not only did Zhou Qi grievously injure the city governor of Mount Hill City, but he even publicly humiliated him. This caused Duan Lingtian and the other four to become angry. Although they knew this person was powerful, it was difficult for them to suppress their anger. The city governor of Mount Hill City was their respected teacher and master. When Duan Lingtian and the other four were about to make their moves, Feng Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City, anxiously stopped them. All of you are no match for him. Feng Wei, why are you stopping them? Are you afraid I'll kill them? Zhou Qi laughed mockingly. Zhou Qi, did you come here just to flaunt your prowess? If it's so, you can leave now, you've completed what you came to do, Feng Wei said in his deep voice after he took a deep breath to suppress his anger and humiliation. When it comes to seniority, by right, I should call you junior uncle. However, with the gap between our cultivation base, I'm afraid you'll just be embarrassed if I address you as junior uncle, right? The smile on Zhou Qi's face widened. His words were all mocking Feng Wei. Junior uncle. Upon hearing Zhou Qi's words, Duan Lingtian and the other four were stunned. What? You guys are surprised? When Zhou Qi saw Duan Lingtian and the other four's expressions, he laughed. Your master is my master's junior brother, however, compared to my master, your master is useless. He's already this old, and yet, he's still only an outer court deacon of the sect and was sent to manage this tiny Mount Hill city. Tisk tisk, the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage. My dear junior uncle, if my memory serves me right, when we first met 10 years ago, you were already at the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage, and I was merely at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Currently, I've already broken through to the mastery Saint Rudiment stage, and you're still at the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage. When Zhou Qi reached the end of his sentence, the disdain in his eyes became even more apparent. Are you here to humiliate me? Feng Wei asked in his deep voice as he glared at Zhou Qi coldly. If he was not severely injured to the point he had lost his ability to fight, he would have made a move. He would rather die than be humiliated. However, Zhou Qi completely ignored him as he replied indifferently, I heard you have a disciple from the mortal continent, and he's quite amazing, junior uncle Feng Wei. I think he's called Su Qi or something. I wonder who's that? Zhou Qi asked curiously as his eyes swept past Duan Lingtian and the others. Upon hearing Zhou Qi's words, Duan Lingtian and the other three could not help but turn to look at Su Qi. This Zhou Qi who came here with ill intention was actually here to look for Su Qi. What was going on? Humph. Su Qi snorted coldly. His gaze was unfriendly when he looked at Zhou Qi. After confirming Su Qi's identity, Zhou Qi looked at him. You're Su Qi. Not bad. You look like a prodigy. No wonder master, that old man, is interested in you. He nodded his head in satisfaction when he reached the end of his sentence. The moment Zhou Qi's words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian and the other four were stunned. Based on Zhou Qi's words, he was here to steal him away. Zhou Qi, what do you mean? Feng Wei asked solemnly. However, Zhou Qi ignored Feng Wei completely as he smiled at Su Qi. Su Qi, I, Zhou Qi, am the direct disciple of Elder Lu Huan of the Moon Illumination sect. My master, Elder Lu Huan, is interested in taking you as his direct disciple. He'll let you enter the inner court of the sect directly and become an inner court disciple. You'll get to enjoy a rich cultivation environment and resources. Moon Illumination sect, an inner court disciple. Zhou Qi's words were like a stone that set off 1,000 ripples. It shocked Duan Lingtian and the others. Since Duan Lingtian and the others were going to the Moon Illumination sect in 5 months to participate in the assessment, they knew a little about the Moon Illumination sect's rules. The people who passed the assessment and entered the Moon Illumination sect would only become an outer court disciple of the Moon Illumination sect. To become an inner court disciple of the Moon Illumination sect, one would need to undergo a series of tests and possess a cultivation base at the early Saint Rudiment stage at least. Naturally, some exceptions were made. It was said that some of the young geniuses who were highly regarded by the Moon Illumination sect's senior officials would be able to enter the inner court and become an inner court disciple regardless of his cultivation base as long as there was a recommendation from a Moon Illumination sect's senior official. Naturally, it had to be a Moon Illumination sect's senior official who held real power. For example, Feng Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City, was an outer court deacon who was sent outside. Although he could also be considered as a Moon Illumination sect's senior official, he did not hold much clout in the Moon Illumination sect. In the Moon Illumination sect, his identity was even considered inferior to many of the inner court disciples. At this moment, this Zhou Qi actually said his master, Elder Lu Huan or something, intended to take Su Qi as his direct disciple. On top of that, he was going to let Su Qi enter the inner court of Moon Illumination sect directly. Duan Lingtian, Shanghu, Ling Yun, and Jin Yuanbao looked at Su Qi instantly, trying to gauge his reaction. Would he choose to betray and follow another master? Or would he reject this? However, if he rejected this, it was highly likely that his outcome would be bad. Based on how Zhou Qi killed the two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses the moment he arrived at the city governor's estate, one could easily see he was not a kind person. It's that traitor, Lu Huan, who asked you to come? Fang Wei asked through gritted teeth. His eyes were as wide as saucers as he glared at Zhou Qi. His body began to tremble from anger. He was so angry that he was on the verge of snapping. Slap. A crisp sound resonated in the air. Zhou Qi had slapped him at lightning speed, leaving a palm print on the side of Fang Hui's face. Teacher. Horror dawned on Duan Lingtian. He instantly raised the sun-shooting bow in his hand and true energy shot out of his right hand after he solidified it into an arrow. He was trying to attack Zhou Qi using the arrow light strike. Right now, he did not even have the time to care whether he was Zhou Qi's match or not. He had long sincerely regarded Fang Wei as his teacher. His teacher was being humiliated, how could he as a disciple sit and watch at the side? Humph. However, a cold snort sounded just as his arrow was knocked on the bow. The horrifying sound wave that was contained in the voice caused his body to tremble right away. Before he even realized what was happening, he felt vast energy surging out before it slammed on his body, sending him flying with a blast. Barf. Duan Lingtian crashed on the ground violently. He felt his throat constrict before he spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, Duan Lingtian had also heard the sounds of blood spurting out at the side. He saw that Shanghu, Ling Yun, and Jin Yuanbao were also sent flying back a blast with saint weapons in their hands. It was apparent they had intended to avenge Fang Wei, just like Duan Lingtian. You three little ants actually dare to be so rude in front of me, Zhou Qi. Zhou Qi did not make any visible movement, but he had already arrived in front of Duan Lingtian and the other two in just a blink of an eye. With his nose high up in the air, he looked down at Duan Lingtian and the other two. Damn it! When Duan Lingtian noticed Zhou Qi's gaze on the sun-shooting bow in his hands, horror dawned on him immediately. Chapter 14:18. How shabby, look at that tattered bow. I think it's not even a human-rank primitive saint weapon. Looks like you're not valued by junior Uncle Fang Wei at all. Zhou Qi smirked mockingly when his gaze landed on the sun-shooting bow in Duan Lingtian's hand. He smirked and glanced at Duan Lingtian disdainfully. After that, he no longer had the mood to bother with Duan Lingtian and the other three. He turned around and looked at Su Qi instead. Su Qi, have you thought about it? Duan Lingtian sighed in relief inwardly. For a moment, he thought Zhou Qi had seen through the sun-shooting bow in his hand and wanted to snatch it away from him. His heart at that moment was beating rapidly. It was only now that it was finally relaxed. A martial cultivator at the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage is actually this strong. I feel like a powerless kid in front of him. Even if I activate the strange pupil, I'm still no match for him at all. Duan Lingtian felt bitter. This Zhou Qi was absolutely the strongest enemy he had encountered thus far. However, his gaze quickly shifted towards Su Qi again. He was not the only one. Even Shanghu, Jin Yuanbao, Ling Yun, and Fang Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City, had their eyes trained on Su Qi as well. It was apparent they wanted to see what kind of decision Su Qi would make. Su Qi, as the saying goes, a man who can recognize the realities of a situation as a paragon of men. I believe you're a wise man. As though he could sense Su Qi's hesitation, Zhou Qi continued to say, besides, water flows downward while men endeavor to rise. This is a famous dictum that's applicable to almost everything. If you follow Fang Wei, you won't have a bright future. Fang Hui's cultivation base is not even comparable to me, let alone my master, Elder Lu Huan. My master, Elder Lu Huan, is someone at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. He's merely half a step away from entering the Saint stage. Zhou Qi finished speaking in one breath. Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. The moment these words left Zhou Qi's mouth, Duan Lingtian, Shanghu, Ling Yun, and Jin Yuanbao were completely shocked. It did not cross their minds that Zhou Qi's master would actually be at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. Such a powerful elder would most likely have a high position in the Moon Illumination sect. The fact was, although the Moon Illumination sect was a seventh-rate force, there were only a few Saint stage powerhouses in the sect. Zhou Qi's master, Lu Huan, could be considered as being in the second echelon in Moon Illumination sect. As for those in the first echelon, there was no doubt they were the few saint stage powerhouses in Moon Illumination sect. I agree. Su Qi finally came to a decision. Haha, good, good. From now on, I'll call you junior brother Su Qi then. Upon hearing Su Qi's assent, Zhou Qi laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with delight. Junior brother Su Qi, congratulations. You've made the best decision. Senior brother Zhou Qi. Su Qi bowed politely to pay his respect to Zhou Qi. Su Qi, you ungrateful bastard. You're so treacherous, Shang Hu growled. He was infuriated when he saw how Su Qi had agreed to it. Oh, upon hearing that, the smile on Zhou Qi's face disappeared immediately as he glared at Shang Hu murderously. True energy could be faintly seen on his body. He's just like an ant. Why do you bother with him, senior brother Zhou Qi? Su Qi smiled at Zhou Qi after he cast an indifferent glance at Shang Hu. That's right, he's just an ant. Zhou Qi smiled as well. Upon hearing Su Qi's words, Shang Hu became even more enraged. He was going to continue with his insults when his mouth was covered by Jin Yuanbao who was next to him. Shang Hu, don't drag us down if you want to seek death. Jin Yuanbao growled in his deep voice as he glared at Shang Hu. Duan Lingtian's face had also turned glum when he looked at Su Qi. He was very clear how his teacher, the city governor of Mount Hill City, doted on this Su Qi. For Su Qi's sake, he even secretly looked for Duan Lingtian to ask him to not fight with Su Qi. However, this Su Qi actually chose to betray his own master at this moment. Duan Lingtian could only feel rage creeping up in his chest. Senior brother Zhou Qi, let's go back to the sect. I wish to pay respect to my master as soon as I can, Su Qi said to Zhou Qi. His tone was polite and respectful. It was very pleasing to Zhou Qi's ears. There's no rush. Zhou Qi shook his head and smiled before turning to look at Fang Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City. Fang Wei was now staring at Su Qi in disbelief as though it did not cross his mind that he would betray him. A hint of rage was beginning to appear on his face. However, his rage quickly dissipated before he sighed. His entire person seemed to have become older by several years. Fang Wei, if I were you, I would have killed myself long ago. Zhou Qi glanced coldly at Fang Wei with a mocking smile on his face. Not only is your innate talent bad, but you can't even protect your own woman. Now, the disciple that you've wholeheartedly trained has also betrayed you. Zhou Qi's words stabbed his heart one by one. When he finished speaking, Fang Wei was angered to the point that his body began to tremble violently, and his eyes were so wide it was almost bulging out. He could not help but throw up a few mouthfuls of blood, looking extremely wretched. However, I still need to thank you on behalf of my master, Elder Lu Huan, who's also your senior brother. Thank you for finding such an outstanding disciple for him, Zhou Qi continued to add. Fang Wei was so angry that his eyes turned white. As it turned out, he had passed out. Trash, Zhou Qi spat out before he looked at Su Qi with a smile. Junior brother Su Qi, let's go back to the sect so you can meet and pay respect to master. Sure, I'll do as you say, senior brother Zhou Qi, Su Qi answered politely after he glanced at Fang Wei who had fainted. Let's go, Zhou Qi said in a deep voice. With a raise of his hand, he took hold of Su Qi's shoulder and brought him flying to the distance before disappearing in the horizon back to the Moon Illumination sect. Lord City Governor, Big Brother, Elder Huang. After Zhou Qi left, many people appeared immediately. They were the members of the 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City, some of them were revered elders. As for the maids and servants who came after hearing the news, they were stopped outside. This was not a glorious occasion after all. At this moment, the medicinal efficacy of the healing medicinal pill demonstrated its effectiveness. Duan Lingtian, Shang Hu, Ling Yun, and Jin Yuanbao were finally able to stand again. After they stood up, they immediately ran toward Fang Wei who had passed out. Worries were clearly etched on their faces. More than 10 of the 36 guardians and several revered elders had come. Each of them was looking at Duan Lingtian with a horrified expression as they asked, what happened actually? The moment they heard the commotion, they instantly made their way here. However, when they entered the gate, they saw the city governor of their Mount Hill City, the heavenly leader guardian, and another revered elder lying on the ground. This scene shocked them so much, and they were frightened out of their wits. These three people were all at the Saint Rudiment stage. In fact, their city governor of Mount Hill City was at the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage, just one more step and he would be able to break through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. At that time, he would be able to master True Energy Consolidated Weapons technique. The True Energy Consolidated Weapon was a technique that could only be mastered when one entered the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage. One would be able to yield an amazing result when consolidating true energy into a relic phenomenon and attacking the enemy by taking them by surprise. It was similar to the technique Zhou Qi had used to defeat Fang Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City. It was called the True Energy Consolidated Weapon. His relic phenomenon was a gigantic hammer. When the hammer slammed down, it was with the force of a mountain. That ungrateful bastard Su Qi! Shang Hu gnashed his teeth furiously. The moment he recalled Su Qi's betrayal, he was instantly filled with rage. Jin Yuanbao recounted the incident with a bitter expression on his face. Upon hearing about Zhou Qi's strength and how powerful Zhou Qi described Elder Lu Huan from the Moon Illumination sect was, everybody turned silent right away. Whether it was those tens of people from the 36 guardians or the several revered elders, all of their rage was turned into a bitter smile. They knew very well it was destined they would be unable to seek revenge. The other party was an inner court disciple of the Moon Illumination sect, the seventh-rate force above the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City. Casting aside the fact that the inner court disciple was already much stronger than their city governor, just the elder behind that inner court disciple alone was enough to stop them from revolting. Soon after, Fang Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City, finally woke up. His face was horribly pale. After he had consumed a healing medicinal pill and recovered a little, he ordered, bury the heavenly leader guardian and elder Huang properly. Other than Duan Ling Tian, Shang Hu, Ling Yun, and Jin Yuan Bao, the rest of you can retreat. After Fang Wei had given out his order, only 4 of them were left in the huge courtyard. I think all of you must have a lot of questions, right? Fang Wei sighed. Duan Ling Tian and the other 3 nodded. They did indeed have questions in their heart. Based on Zhou Qi's tone, it seemed like he deliberately looked for trouble with Fang Wei as though he had some deep enmity between them. What do you think? Fang Wei asked again. Master, that Zhou Qi must have some enmity with you, right? Jin Yuan Bao asked. Zhou Qi. Fang Wei shook his head as his eyes gleamed coldly. I have no enmity with Zhou Qi. He's merely a dog Lu Han feeds that goes around randomly biting people. The person I have bad blood with is Lu Huan. Lu Huan. Prior to Zhou Qi's arrival, Duan Ling Tian and the other 3 would not have recognized this name even if they heard it. Lu Huan was an elder in the Moon Illumination sect. His cultivation base was very powerful and had entered the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. Master, that Lu Huan is at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. Why is there enmity between both of you? Shang Hu asked. About this matter, I'll have to start from when I was young. Fang Wei gradually opened his mouth and recounted the story of when he was young to Duan Ling Tian and the 3 others. As it turned out, Fang Wei and Lu Huan had entered the Moon Illumination sect in the same year. Initially, they did not bother with each other. However, they became mortal enemies in the end. The reason they became mortal enemies was due to Fang Hui's wife. Fang Hui's wife entered the Moon Illumination sect a few years later, and both Fang Wei and Lu Huan had instantly fallen for her. In the end, Fang Wei was the one who managed to win her heart. At that time, Lu Huan, who was already an inner court disciple, became furious over the matter. Relying on the fact that he was a disciple of an elder in the sect, he kidnapped Fang Hui's wife on the night of their wedding. After Fang Hui's wife was raped by him, she had chosen to commit suicide. Ever since then, Fang Wei and Lu Huan became sworn enemies and swore their enmity would not disappear until the day they died. Unfortunately, Fang Hui's innate talent was not as good as Lu Huan, and he did not have a powerful patron like Lu Huan. Due to despair, a demon formed in his heart and caused the progress in his cultivation to slow down. Although Lu Huan itched to kill Fang Wei, he preferred to humiliate Fang Wei and let him live under his shadow forever. Chapter 14-19. In the end, Fang Wei knew it was hopeless for him to seek revenge. After he became an inner court disciple, he had requested to be dispatched as an outer court deacon to manage Mount Hill City and become the city governor of Mount Hill City. 10 years ago, Lu Huan had brought Zhou Qi here and refreshed his memory that was already covered in dust, causing him to be overwhelmed with grief and rage. However, what could he do? He could not even defeat the other party. His status was far from comparable to the other party. Due to this reason, he could only swallow the humiliation and endure it. I know I don't have a chance in seeking revenge, and I've even thought about committing suicide. However, in the end, I still decided to live on. My life is destined to be incomparable to Lu Huan, but it doesn't mean the disciples I train will be incomparable to the disciples Lu Huan trains. Feng Wei said through clenched teeth. His eyes were red with hatred. Naturally, there was one thing he left unsaid. That was he wished his disciples would seek revenge for him. Even if Lu Huan was not killed, he would be satisfied as long as he was taught a lesson. It was because of this obsession that he managed to drag out his ignoble existence until now. It must be said that Fang Hui's words struck Duan Lingtian and the other three like a bolt of lightning when they heard it. It did not cross their minds that their teacher and master would have such an unbearable past. They could feel the pain, anger, helplessness, exasperation, and other emotions in his voice. They could understand all of these feelings he felt. The reason I disclose this to all of you is mainly to tell you one thing. Even after all of you have entered the Moon Illumination sect and become an outer court disciple, you will most likely be oppressed by Lu Huan's people. Feng Wei looked at Duan Lingtian and the other three solemnly. Right now, you can consider if you still want to join the entrance assessment for Moon Illumination sect and enter the sect or not. The moment Feng Hui's words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian and the other three frowned immediately. Don't tell me they even dare to kill us? Duan Lingtian asked. They won't dare to kill you in the sect no matter. Although there are several secluded places, they are enveloped by several saint stage powerhouses, divine consciousness. Anybody who kills will be severely punished by the sect. Feng Wei explained. Naturally, if there are people who have unresolvable enmity with each other in the sect, they can apply for a death duel. That way, they won't be considered as breaking the sect's rule and won't be punished for killing too. In other words, they'll only look for trouble with us at most and won't dare to kill us. Shang Hu asked. Yes, you can say that. Feng Wei nodded. Teacher, what's divine consciousness? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. The divine consciousness can only be formed by saint stage powerhouses. It can be considered as a type of spiritual energy. The saint stage powerhouses, divine consciousness can envelop and monitor a vast area. Feng Wei said, you'll eventually learn about this when you break through to the saint stage later. Saint stage. Upon hearing Feng Hui's words, Duan Lingtian did not have any thoughts, but Ling Yun, Shang Hu, and Jin Yuanbao were taken aback. From Master's words, was he implying this senior brother Duan had the potential to break through to the saint stage? With your senior brother Duan's innate talent, it's just a matter of time before he breaks through to the saint stage if he doesn't suddenly die, Feng Wei explained as though he could see through Ling Yun and the other two's shock. His confidence toward Duan Lingtian could be heard from his words. I'll give you 1 month to consider. I won't blame you if you decide not to enter the Moon Illumination sect. However, all of you need to be mentally prepared if you decide to enter, Feng Wei continued to add. Since all of you will be entering the sect through my recommendation, it'll be equivalent to having the label of Mound Hill City, my label, on you. When Feng Wei reached the end of his sentence, his face was solemn. Apart from Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, Shang Hu, and Jin Yuanbao nodded their heads solemnly. As for Duan Lingtian, when he heard from Feng Wei that Lu Huan and his disciples were not allowed to kill anybody in within the sect's estate, he had already made up his mind. He would enter the Moon Illumination sect. Although he would be oppressed, it was not to the point of death. Motivation came from pressure. Duan Lingtian had always believed in this. I'll make that Lu Huan and his disciple my touchstone then, Duan Lingtian thought to himself as his eyes shone brightly. As though recalling something, Feng Wei gave a long sigh before he turned to leave the front courtyard. Duan Lingtian at him and found his silhouette shrouded in despair. Looks like Su Qi's betrayal has dealt a big impact on teacher. Su Qi's betrayal was out of Duan Lingtian's expectation too. Although he did not interact much with Su Qi, he did not think he was someone who was afraid of death and preferred to live a life of dishonor. It appears that I'm wrong in my judgment this time. Duan Lingtian sighed, but his eyes gleamed coldly. Su Qi, I'll show you that even though you've decided to rely on Lu Huan, you'll still be beneath me. Duan Lingtian had genuinely regarded Feng Wei as his teacher, so he could also feel his humiliation. That Lu Huan and his disciple, the moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, the cold gleam in his eyes shone even brighter. After taking a deep breath to suppress his anger, Duan Lingtian returned to his room to cultivate. He took out the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda and entered the 2nd level. It was less than 6 months before he would enter the Moon Illumination sect. I hope I'll successfully break through to the perfection mortal shedding stage before I enter the Moon Illumination sect, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. When he was cultivating in the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda on the 3rd day, he was awakened by a series of knocks on the door. Only one day had gone by outside. Teacher. Opening the room door, Duan Lingtian was surprised when he saw Feng Wei. Duan Lingtian, have you thought about whether you'll enter the moon illumination sect or not? Feng Wei asked. Duan Lingtian was shocked. Although he had already made up his mind, he could not help but feel astonished that Feng Wei would come to his door to inquire about it the next day. Did he not say he would give them 1 month to consider? Since there's no life or death danger, there's nothing that I need to be afraid of. Duan Lingtian smiled. He confirmed his intention of joining the moon illumination sect with his words. It's only in the sect's estate that there's no life or death danger, Feng Wei said solemnly. If it's outside the sect's estate, there's no guarantee at all. You must think carefully about this. If someone was killed outside the sect's estate, there was no guarantee they could find the culprit. If I'm killed outside the sect's estate, then that just means I'm the useless one. Duan Lingtian smiled nonchalantly as his eyes flashed. I didn't misjudge your strength. Feng Wei looked at Duan Lingtian intently before he took out a spatial ring and passed it to him. Do your best in cultivating before you head to the moon illumination sect's entrance exam. This is. Duan Lingtian was stunned by Feng Hui's action. There's the saint grade pill, the sensory pills inside it. Not only that, but it also contains some saint stones that will be helpful to your cultivation. After Feng Wei had finished his sentence, without waiting for Duan Lingtian's assent, he pushed the ring into Duan Lingtian's hand. Then, he turned around to leave so he could leave him to his cultivation. Looking at Feng Hui's bleak silhouette that was slowly disappearing, a surge of flame rose up in Duan Lingtian's heart. He made a promise as he muttered to himself, Teacher, one day, I'll make sure justice is served, and they'll pay for what they have done to you. This was his promise to Feng Wei. Although his voice was not loud, it still clearly heard by Feng Wei. Justice. Feng Hui's body paused for a moment. After a slight tremble, he continued to walk forward. I believe in you, Feng Wei said hoarsely. His words were filled with emotions. The reason he, Feng Wei, dragged out his ignoble existence until today was to make sure justice would be served. At that time, he could not make Lu Huan pay for it when he kidnapped his newlywed wife and caused her death. Until now, justice was still not served. He had mass-recruited young talents because he had pinned his hope on these young talents, hoping they could help him get the justice that he deserved. Now that someone told him that they would get him his justice, how could he not feel moved? Especially when that person had a very high likelihood of keeping his promise. However, Feng Hui's mood was still complicated. When he had taken Su Qi in as his disciple, he had pinned all of his hopes on Su Qi. As he watched Su Qi grow day by day, he had even seen a sliver of hope. In his opinion, with Su Qi's talent, after he entered the moon illumination sect, as long as he continued to grow, he would definitely be able to fulfill his wish and seek justice for him so that his wife could finally smile in the netherworld. However, who would have thought the person whom he had pinned his hopes on would actually betray him? He was happy that Duan Lingtian was here. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian was like a light in the dark, guiding him to move forward. In other words, Duan Lingtian was his last hope. Duan Lingtian did not let him down either. Don't tell me it's true that I can't sell the cow and drink the milk too. Feng Hui's heart was filled with bitterness. Whether it was Duan Lingtian or Su Qi, he had hoped both of them would help him get justice when they get stronger. However, it seemed like he could not have both the cow and the milk. He had lost Su Qi. Closing the door properly, Duan Lingtian re-entered the second level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Sensory pill. He did not lack saint stones, but he did indeed lack the saint grade pills, sensory pills. This is a 2-star sensory pill. Wait, this is a 3-star sensory pill. Duan Lingtian performed ownership claim on the spatial ring that Feng Wei had given him. When he was about to take the sensory pill to aid him in his cultivation, he noticed not only were there 2-star sensory pills inside, but some of them were 3-star sensory pills. Although they were both saint-grade pills, just the effectiveness of the 3-star sensory pill alone was far greater than a 2-star sensory pill. It's time for me to change my spatial ring too. The moment he remembered his spatial ring was the one he made for himself previously, Duan Lingtian proceeded to use the spatial ring Feng Wei had given him after he compared both of them. Currently, he could not upgrade his spatial ring because he could no longer form the weapon fire. The spatial ring Feng Wei had given him had a higher grade than all of the spatial rings he had. It had already reached the human rank prominent saint weapon, so he changed his ring without any hesitation. The 2-star sensory pill is already so effective. I'm sure the 3-star sensory pill is even more powerful. Duan Lingtian had experienced the 2-star sensory pill's benefits previously when he was in the process of breaking through to the Master Immortal shedding stage, so he was looking forward to using the 3-star sensory pill. Chapter 1420. After Duan Lingtian experienced that incident that day, he felt a greater sense of pressure now. In Dao Martial Saint Land, the law of the jungle was even more apparent compared to the Cloud Continent and the overseas Saint Islands. Zhou Qi, the direct disciple of Elder Lu Huan from the Moon Illumination sect, had barged into the city governor's estate of Mount Hill City by himself and killed the 2 Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses of the estate on the spot. Besides that, he even inflicted severe damage on the city governor of Mount Hill City. Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, Shang Hu, and Jin Yuanbao were completely powerless to do anything in front of Zhou Qi, who was swollen with arrogance, all because the latter was very powerful. The famous dictum, "the strong ruled," would always apply everywhere. Today, Zhou Qi had further proven this to Duan Lingtian. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian began to cultivate after consuming a 3-star sensory pill. With the 3-star sensory pill, I'd have more faith in breaking through to the perfection mortal shedding stage before I enter the entrance assessment of the Moon Illumination sect. Somehow, a saint stone had also appeared in his hand. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, the 9 Dragons form. As he started to operate his mental cultivation technique, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the air and the energy from the saint stone continued to gush into Duan Lingtian's body endlessly, allowing the 9 dragons to carry them as they completed the Great Qi circulatory cycle. After the Great Qi circulatory cycle was completed, the heaven and earth spirit energy transformed to become true energy and merged into the Qi sea that was as huge as a basketball at the depth of the center between Duan Lingtian's brows. The true energy in the Qi sea was increasing by the second. It's so fast now. Duan Lingtian noticed that after the 3-star sensory pill's medicinal efficacy started to activate, the heaven and earth spirit energy that he sensed was much richer than before. His cultivation speed had also become much faster now. Under such cultivation circumstances, Duan Lingtian's cultivation base was increasing rapidly. Of course, it was impossible for him to keep cultivating like that. He would leave the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda in the room to relax sometimes. A month quickly went by. This time, Ling Yun, Shang Hu, and Jin Yuanbao had already made their decision as well. Ling Yun and Shang Hu decided to enter the Moon Illumination sect while Jin Yuanbao chose to give up. Under the watchful eyes of Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, and Shang Hu, Jin Yuanbao voiced out the reason he chose to give up. "I'm sorry, Master, I can't enter the Moon Illumination sect. I'm not afraid of them, but I'm worried that they will find trouble with my clan." Even though he decided to throw the towel in, Feng Wei did not blame him at all. It was normal for Jin Yuanbao to dread Lu Huan and his disciples. "Master, I'll help you teach Su Qi, that traitor, a lesson in the future. And Zhou Qi too, I'll eventually catch up with him and even surpass him," Shang Hu pledged in all sincerity and seriousness. His tone was filled with resolute determination. Seeing this, Feng Wei was, without a doubt, touched. Although Ling Yun did not say anything, his sharp gaze was already more than enough to express everything he felt. Duan Lingtian would sometimes leave the city governor's estate to catch his breath, but most of the time, he would go to Hong Yu's house to visit the little girl, Zizi, and play with her. Compared to before, Zizi seemed to have transformed into a whole other person. She was much more cheerful than before. "Big brother, let me perform a show for you." The little girl waved her fists around excitedly as she danced around Duan Lingtian while blinking her huge eyes. "What do you want to show me?" Duan Lingtian asked interestedly. Then, he saw a scene that took him by utter surprise. With a whistle from the little girl, many figures swiftly came from all around the big mansion right away. In just the blink of an eye, these few figures appeared around the little girl. Upon closer scrutiny, Duan Lingtian saw that they were mainly domesticated pets like cats and dogs. However, because Dao Martial Saint Land was a different environment, the cats and dogs there were different from those in the mortal continents. The cats were as huge as the adult dogs in the mortal continents, while the dogs were as great as the tigers in the mortal continents. However, these cats and dogs appeared to be particularly docile around the little girl. Lying there, they allowed the little girl to ride on them before taking her for a joy ride. Upon seeing this, Duan Lingtian was bewildered. Somehow, Hong Yu now stood beside Duan Lingtian. Looking at the little girl who was riding an enormous dog as it lumbered across the huge courtyard, he said with a complicated look, Zizi's innate talent in beast taming far surpasses mine. So, it turns out that she's actually gifted in beast taming. Duan Lingtian finally understood. It was no wonder that a little girl like Zizi would actually be able to make these few cats and dogs turn to become so docile. She actually possessed the innate talent of a beast tamer after all. At first, he even thought that the cats and dogs were raised by Hong Yu's household, but now he realized that these were all wild animals. Brother Lingtian, I want to make Zizi a beast tamer, Hong Yu told Duan Lingtian solemnly. She really has this innate talent and I don't want her talent to be buried just like that. Big brother Hong, I have no objections. I'm okay with anything as long as she's happy, Duan Lingtian replied. I just hope that she can stay carefree without a single worry like this forever. Everything else doesn't matter to me. Yeah, Hong Yu agreed. Big brother Hong, I'll leave in 3 months. Before I leave Mount Hill City, I'll pay a visit to all of you again to bid farewell. In this period, I'll put my heart and soul into cultivating, Duan Lingtian told Hong Yu, who displayed his understanding too. He knew that 3 months later, Duan Lingtian would leave Mount Hill City to take part in the entrance assessment of the Moon Illumination sect. As Duan Lingtian's brother, he, of course, hoped that he would have a bright future. After Duan Lingtian had returned to the city governor's estate, he immersed himself in cultivating more. I've kinda underestimated the perfection mortal shedding stage. The difficulty of breaking through to the perfection mortal shedding stage from the mastery stage seems to be more than twice as difficult as breaking through to the mastery stage from the intermediate stage. Originally, Duan Lingtian had planned to break through to the perfection mortal shedding stage before he entered the Moon Illumination sect. However, he soon noticed that making a breakthrough to the perfection mortal shedding stage was not something simple. At the very least, he had underestimated the difficulty in breaking through to the perfection mortal shedding stage. As time continued to pass by, he had already cultivated for a year on the 2nd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda but had yet to make a breakthrough. Not only that, the true energy in the chi-si deep in between his brows had now accumulated to become 2/3 full. He still needed a third more before filling the chi-si with true energy completely. 1 year inside the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda's 2nd level was equivalent to 4 months outside. There was only 1 more month to go before the entrance assessment of the Moon Illumination sect took place. Desperation permeated the space of time. Somehow, another 20-odd days had gone by. Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, and Shanghu had finally reached the day when they were supposed to depart to the Moon Illumination sect. In the morning, Feng Wei called for Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, and Shanghu and told them briefly. Get prepared, we'll leave early morning tomorrow. Duan Lingtian did not have much to prepare. Since he was going to leave the next day, he left the city governor's estate and went to Hong Yu's house before spending the day accompanying Zizi. It was only until the evening came that he finally got ready to go back. Zizi, I'll travel somewhere far away tomorrow and will only come back to see you after a while, okay? Duan Lingtian told the little girl. Please come back earlier, big brother. She was already now much more mature than before. Had it still been her younger self, she would have already long cried and thrown a tantrum. All right, Duan Lingtian nodded. After patting Zizi's head, he looked at Hong Yu and his wife. Big brother Hong, sister-in-law, I'll leave Zizi in your care then. Don't worry, Hong Yu and his wife nodded. Brother, have a safe journey. I believe that with your innate talent, it wouldn't take you long for you to carve your own path in the Moon Illumination sect, Hong Yu called out. The next morning, with the dew blanketing the dawn, Feng Wei, the city governor of Mount Hill City, led Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, and Shanghu to fly out of the city. After they left Mount Hill City, they were no longer restricted by the flight prohibiting formation, so they were able to fly by themselves. They tailed behind Feng Wei as they headed towards the Moon Illumination sect. Soon, Duan Lingtian noticed that even though he relied on his brute strength and true energy in his body to fly, Shanghu was still able to chase up to him and Ling Yun. Shanghu, since when have you made a breakthrough to the perfection mortal shedding stage? Just a month ago, Shanghu chuckled brilliantly. Feng Wei and Ling Yun did not seem to be surprised by this. It was apparent that they already knew about this. Why didn't you tell me earlier? If you told me earlier, we could have had a little battle with each other, Duan Lingtian teased. Senior brother Duan, I can't even defeat senior brother Ling Yun, let alone you, Shanghu replied with a dejected expression. Now that Su Qi had left, Duan Lingtian had already become the great senior brother. Of course, even if Su Qi had not left, Ling Yun and Shanghu still regarded Duan Lingtian as their great senior brother. They knew how Fang Wei would not allow the battle between Duan Lingtian and Su Qi to take place either. They comprehended that it was because their master was worried that Su Qi was no match for Duan Lingtian. Since he needed to take care of Duan Lingtian and the other two, Fang Wei deliberately slowed down. 2 days later, they finally arrived at the Moon Illumination sect. After we've crossed the mountain range in front, we'll be able to see the Moon Illumination sect, Fang Wei told them as they peered out at the mountain range that stretched out like a long, crawling dragon. The trio snapped back to reality as they awoke from their flying stupor. Upon hearing that, Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes towards the front. In just one glance, he could not see much, but when he started to operate his left eye, the strange pupil, he quickly saw a huge monastery gate not far behind the mountain range that appeared to be incredibly majestic. Above the monastery gate was a carving of exquisite calligraphy of 3 words, Moon Illumination Sect. Just when Duan Lingtian was about to take a closer look at the Moon Illumination Sect, a delighted exclamation rang by his ears. "I've succeeded." He could tell that this was Elder Huo's voice. "Elder Huo, what have you succeeded in?" Duan Lingtian was stunned. "I've successfully refined the dragon blood of that little devil dragon." Elder Huo replied ecstatically. Upon hearing Elder Huo's words, Duan Lingtian seemed to remember something as his eyes lit up and his breathing turned rapid due to his excitement. "Elder Huo, have you really successfully refined it?" Duan Lingtian's voice was filled with enthusiasm as well. Of course, he would be excited. Elder Huo had told him 3 months ago what was refining the 5-clawed divine dragon's dragon blood implied. The divine dragon phenomenon. Duan Lingtian's heart jolted.